Chapter 960. The Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan were very special in the Demon Clan world of Infinite Wilderness. They had always pursued an isolated island policy and did not intervene in the disputes of Infinite Wilderness vast land. They even rarely participated in the war between the two worlds of Infinite Wilderness vast land and the Divine Land. The Parasol Forest was the ancestral land of the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan. In the past, because of the Divine Wudong Tree Emperor, Lin Feng and Xiao Yan had a good relationship with the Divine Wudong Tree Clan and the Phoenix Clan. Xiao Yan had escorted little Lin Tong to the Parasol Forest. Lin Feng traveled through the void space. Yang Qing, Luo Qingguo, Chu Yang, and the others were swept up by his dermic powers. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and Zhuge Zhan followed by his side. Zhuge Zhan exclaimed, "The Parasol Forest has not been open to the public for many years. Other than some of the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Sage, few people other than the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan visit." In the Infinite Wilderness vast land, individuals were powerful, but they always traveled alone. There were few great demons from the same clan. Other than the White Tiger Sage, Xiang Lu Sage, and Lu Yuan Sage, there was only the Vermilion Bird Sage. It was a very rare pure-blooded vermilion bird. Its majestic demonic power could burn the heavens and destroy the earth. It had always traveled alone. However, the Vermilion Bird Sage had a good relationship with the Phoenix Clan. It was also one of the few great demons that could freely enter and exit the Parasol Forest. Speaking of traveling alone, Lin Feng looked at Zhuge Zhan. "Now, in the Divine Land, are there still 4 itinerant cultivators like you who have reached Dao integration?" According to the information Lin Feng had, there were 4 itinerant cultivators at the Dao integration level in the Divine Land. Other than Dao Master Blazing Sun, Zhuge Zhan, and Dao Master Luo Fu of the Luofu Immortal Island in the East Ocean, there were 2 others. They were Duda Qian Shu and Ning Wanga. Among the 4 of them, Dao Master Luo Fu had a fixed Dao Field Blessed Land, Luo Fu Immortal Island, while the other 3 did not have a fixed residence. Their whereabouts were elusive and unpredictable, and at the same time, they rarely appeared in the world. Among them, Thousand Tree Duda had participated in the Buddhist extermination war in the past. Like Shi Tianfang of the Heavenly Tao of the Reincarnation sect, he had joined the Buddhist Extermination Coalition Army. He seemed to have obtained something he wanted from the Great Lain Temple. However, after the Buddhist Extermination War, there had been no news of Thousand Tree Duda. As for Meng Xian, Ning Wanga, he was the most mysterious person amongst all the independent cultivators. His background was difficult to determine, and it was even to the extent that many people suspected that this person didn't exist at all, but was a fake body of a supreme elder of the Void Temple. The information that Lin Feng had on hand also stopped there. Hence, when he suddenly thought of it that day, he decided to ask Zhuge Zhan. On the contrary, rogue cultivators often communicated with each other, and their interactions were closer. Although they couldn't be considered to be allies, they still formed a circle. For example, Zhuge Zhan and Thousand Tree Duda had a very good relationship. Hearing this, Zhuge Zhan answered, "Currently, there are still 4 of us." He paused for a while, and his expression became a little strange. "If Ning Wanga is really a rogue cultivator like us, then there are 4 of us." Lin Feng looked at Zhuge Zhan and said, "Oh, fellow Taoist Zhuge, you also think that Ning Wanga does not actually exist?" Zhuge Zhan laughed and said, "Faction leader Lin, please don't blame me. In fact, after the battle in West Hill City, I have been suspecting that you are actually Ning Wanga. Finally, you have decided to reveal your real identity and establish your own sect. There are many people who have the same idea as me. Because of your appearance, over the years, many people have speculated that Ning Wanga is either your fake body or the fake body of a Grand Supreme Elder from the Taishu Temple. More and more people think that this person does not really exist." Hearing this, Lin Feng was a little stunned at first, and then he couldn't help but smile. "You think too much. Ning Wanga has nothing to do with me." Zhuge Zhan nodded and said, "Since faction leader Lin has said so, of course, I believe you." Lin Feng said, As far as I know, Ning Wanga, the Dream Immortal, once fought with Shi Tianfang, the head of the reincarnation sect's heavenly law, and Zen Master Zhizhen, the Grand Supreme Elder of the Lane Temple. Both of them did not use any magic weapons or fought to the death. They just fought with their own Dharma powers, and the result was a draw. However, Ning Wanga showed his fruit of the way. Zhuge Zhan replied, "That's right. His Taoism is very mysterious and very strange. It makes people feel like they are trapped in a dream and can't get out of it. However, it is different from the Tao of changing reality and illusion. It has never appeared in the Tianyuan world before, so no one knows its origin. Similarly, no one knows what Ning Wanga's cultivation is. Even Shi Tianfang and Monk Zhizhen, who have fought with him, don't know if Ning Wanga has used his full strength." He curled his lips and said, "That's true, but we don't even know if Ning Wanga is a man or a woman. It's okay if one person can't tell, but both of them can't tell." From this, it can be seen that Ning Wanga has most likely held back. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Although I haven't seen it with my own eyes, rumor has it that his Taoism is different from mine." "You guys are really thinking too much." Zhuge Zhan smiled and nodded. With Lin Feng's current identity, there was no need for him to lie and make himself look petty. Therefore, he also believed that Ning Wanga was not Lin Feng's fake body. However, he had reservations about what Lin Feng had said just now. He thought to himself, who knows what other tricks you have up your sleeves. Even Zhuge Zhan, who was knowledgeable and had high standards, was shocked by the battle just now. Golden Cicada escaped, the Kunlun Dragon King and the Blue Sky Dragon King retreated to the mysterious sea, and the monkey, the enchantress, the great sage, and the Golden Rock Sage, who were watching the battle, also left. This marked the end of the battle. But before this, no one had expected the battle to end like this. After the Battle of Mount Shu and the series of battles Lin Feng had with the Zhu Yan Great Sage, the Blue Sky Dragon King, and the monkey, Lin Feng's strength was already recognized by the world. However, he'd come to Infinite Wilderness Continent alone and was all alone in the end. If he were to reveal a flaw, then the outcome would be unavoidable for him to be besieged and killed by a group of greater demons. Of course, the demons had to pay a huge price to surround and kill Lin Feng. After all, treasures like the sky-crushing sword, Yujing Mountain, and the Bell of Creation were not just for show. But the final result shocked everyone. Even without using the sky-crushing sword and the other treasures, Lin Feng could still escape unscathed. Not only did he escape unscathed, but he also killed many demons. Putting aside the fact that Golden Cicada had been chased away by the monkey, the Kunlun Dragon King and the Blue Sky Dragon King had been seriously injured, the White Tiger Sage and Lu Yuan Great Sage had been captured, and the Xiang Lu Great Sage and the Ancestral Crocodile Great Sage had been killed on the spot. If not for the monkey's protection, Yuao Dragon King would not have been able to escape. Lin Feng's endless means had once again widened everyone's horizons. It was hard to guess what other unknown abilities he had. And because of this, he had deterred the three demons, the Enchantress, the Great Sage, and the Golden Rock Sage, from making a move. Thinking of this, Zhuge Zhan shook his head and sighed in his heart. Lin Feng was thinking of another question. In that case, this Ning Wanga is a character similar to the Enchantress, but much more low-key than the Enchantress. To this day, the Enchantress had been famous for thousands of years. She had traveled freely in infinite wilderness, but no one, be it the human race or the demon race, knew her true origins, nor had they seen her use any of her race's innate magical powers. Not to mention the fact that her original race was still unknown, no one even knew her true appearance. Unlike the heavenly fox nine-tailed great sage, who could change her appearance through illusory means, the Enchantress seemed to always be shrouded in mist, and no one could see through her. Rumor had it that the Taishu Temple had used an incomplete Haotian mirror to look into her origins, but found nothing. Not to mention that she had entered the last day's realm, even back then, no one could see through her. This had always been a strange story in infinite wilderness. Zhuge Zhan suddenly thought of something and said, however, in addition to the four of us, there was once an itinerant senior in the Middle Era. His whereabouts are unknown, and whether he is still alive or not, I can't be sure. Oh. Lin Feng smiled. That's hard to say. He chatted with Zhuge Zhan, while Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao listened with great interest. While listening, they also nourished their harvest. So far, Xianmen Tianzong had made a lot of money from this trip to Infinite Wilderness. Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao had intercepted Lu Yuan the Great Sage in the foreign space and had gained a lot. Lin Feng counted these as their personal gains, and did not have to include the sex gains. In this case, Xianmen Tianzong had also made a lot of money this time. Not to mention the potential gains such as the Star Ocean Portal and the Golden Alms Bowl. Just killing Xiang Lu the Great Sage and Ancestral Crocodile the Great Sage was already a great harvest. The great demon's body was full of treasures, and this was not something that could be easily forgotten. Golden Cicada and Kun Dragon King were forced to retreat, so they naturally did not have the time to collect the bodies of Xiang Lu the Great Sage and Ancestral Crocodile the Great Sage. Everything fell into the hands of Lin Feng and his disciple. Comparatively speaking, although Xiang Lu Great Sage had a higher cultivation base and strength, because of the characteristics of his race, it would take him some effort to turn a useless corpse into a treasure. Therefore, the corpse of Ancestral Crocodile Great Sage was more valuable. In addition, White Tiger and Lu Yuan were captured, and Yuao Dragon King also sacrificed his life to buy a way out. In addition, after Kun Dragon King's Dragon Claw and Dragon Tail exploded, the flesh and blood that Lin Feng collected were even more valuable. Oh yes, there's also that Sungtian Dao Jian. Lin Feng laughed and shook his head. He did not know whether to say that this sword was lucky or unlucky. I've made a fortune from the war. 10,000 taels of gold for every shot. The battle in vast land of infinite wasteland not only brought great rewards to Xianmen Tianzong, but also made many great demons lose face. When the detailed news was sent back to the divine land, it naturally caused another uproar. The impact was no less than the Xian extermination battle. The great Zhou dynasty's Yan Liang King, Liang Fu, and Cloud Immortal Li Yao quickly returned to the great Zhou dynasty's Tianjing city in the divine land. When they received the news, they were extremely glad that they did not follow Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others into the mine. Otherwise, if they had mistakenly entered the foreign dimension, the consequences would have been dire. Fifth brother and Li Yao, thank you for your hard work. Rest well and recuperate. Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou's expression did not change after hearing the two's report. He waved his hand and asked them to leave. After Liang Fu and Cloud Immortal left, Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou sat on the dragon throne in silence. After a long time, he said softly, Fairy Yen, I would like to talk to Dao Lord Qing Yi and your master. In the palace hall, a green-clothed lady sat calmly on the guest seat. It was Yan Mingyue. She was as beautiful as ever, but she had an ethereal and unpredictable temperament. It was like the thick clouds that shrouded White Cloud Mountain all year round. She looked at Liang Pan and nodded with a smile. Grandmaster is still in vast land of infinite wasteland, but I can contact my master on his behalf. Chapter 961. After conveying Emperor Zhou's Liang Pan's message to Master Yun Yuanjin, Yan Mingyue took her leave. She left Tianjing City and traveled around the world, her mind wandering. Many things have happened during my seclusion this time. After walking for a long time, Yan Mingyue suddenly stopped and looked to the west, where Mount Kunlun was located. Although she knew that the real owner was not in Mount Kunlun or the vast land of the divine land, she still looked in the direction of Mount Kunlun. As expected, my premonition was right. I just didn't expect this day to come so soon. What Yan Mingyue thought back to at this moment was the conversation she had with Lin Feng after the Battle of Xiling City. It really is a ship that can fly. Yan Mingyue laughed involuntarily, but the light in her eyes was clear. But a ship that can fly, in the end, has to sail in the sea. The endless universe is also a sea of stars. Yan Mingyue's mind was slightly absent-minded. In the end, as expected, people of different paths cannot work together. Sir is the greatest obstacle on this path, but it is also because of your existence that this small path has become a broad road. The world is really indescribably subtle. Now, Your Excellency, you are an existence that even the moon has to look up to. However, the moon is a drop of water, but it is a part of the ocean. Let us see if the ship can really transcend the ocean. The world suddenly shook slightly. The clouds gathered and turned into a human face. It was Yun Yuanjin. Yan Mingyue smiled and bowed to Yun Yuanjin. Master. Yun Yuanjin said with a faint smile, Mingyue, you can continue to stay in Tianjing City. Yes, Master. Yan Mingyue smiled. Master, how was the discussion with Liang Pan? Yun Yuanjin said, the initial intention has been achieved. Slowly plan next. This needs time. Fortunately, the master of the celestial sect bought us some time. Yan Mingyue's expression changed slightly. Master, are you talking about the master of the celestial sect's trip to Tianhuang mainland to capture and kill demons? Yun Yuanjin said, capturing and killing White Tiger, Xiang Lu, Lu Yuan, Ancestral Crocodile and the other great demons is one thing. The other thing is that Golden Cicada and Tian Long Kuan are injured and need time to recuperate. Yan Mingyue thought for a moment and said, but, I still feel that it's not enough. The master of the Mystic Gate has yet to return from Infinite Wilderness. It's still unknown if he will clash with the other demons. Yun Yuanjin slowly said, however, I will not place all my hopes on the leader of the Celestial Gate. I will also have to make some moves. This should be enough. Yan Mingyue nodded. The monster race invaded Taihua Mountain while Martial Granduncle Tai One and the others were in the above heaven realm, causing the mountain to be destroyed. Now that we're free, we naturally have to return the favor. After a short pause, Yan Mingyue continued to ponder and asked, Master, but if there is really great progress, and the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders also has a new move, and in the end, the opportunity will greatly benefit our divine land. Should we temporarily put aside the Celestial Sect of Wonders and launch a war between the two realms against the demon clan? Yun Yuanjin replied, if the time is right, it's not impossible, but the possibility is very small. After all, the whereabouts of Tianmei and Golden Rock are difficult to determine. If we want to take the initiative to attack places like Xianhai and Lingyuan Mountain, we need the Haotian Mirror to recover completely. Otherwise, the price will be too high. And it's difficult to temporarily put aside the Star Ocean if we can't find the right way. Whether it's the problem of Xianmen Tianzong or the monster race, we still need time. Yan Mingyue nodded. I understand. Yun Yuanjin continued, actually, the monster race also needs time. The master of the Celestial Gate's trip to Infinite Wasteland and our next actions can also delay the monster race. Hearing this, Yan Mingyue's eyes flickered, and her expression gradually became solemn. Master, you mean, Tenryu Zhen, this time, Yun Yuanjin did not respond immediately. After a moment of silence, he said, I hope our guess is wrong. This time, Tian Long Kuan and the dragon race suffered such a huge loss at the hands of the master of the Celestial Gate. What the dragon race will do next can verify our previous guess. Yan Mingyue digested the information revealed by Yun Yuanjin. After a while, she smiled. If that's the case, I'm afraid the enchantress will be disappointed. Hearing this, Yun Yuanjin also smiled. Don't underestimate Tianmei. When she was at the Star Soul Unity realm, even the experts who had reached the Dharma ending realm could not see through her true form. She's still able to create such a huge commotion even with heavy shackles on her body. She's a remarkable person. Yan Mingyue said with a smile. Master, didn't you almost make her reveal her true form back then? She and Yun Yuanjin had a close relationship. They were like mother and daughter, so it was not a taboo to say such teasing words. Although Yan Mingyue seemed to be joking, her gaze became more and more solemn. Yun Yuanjin was teased by his own disciple, but he was not angry. Instead, he smiled and said, although it is very regrettable, if she really showed herself, I may not have been able to escape unscathed. Although with the protection of the clear sky mirror, you most likely would not have had to take someone else as your master, but it would have been very dangerous. She said it casually, but Yan Mingyue's heart was not at all relaxed. She would not look down on her master because of this. Because she knew that Yun Yuanjin had taken the initiative to take the risk even though he knew that the odds were against him. Ignorant courage was just recklessness. Knowing the danger but still moving forward calmly, that was true courage. Suddenly, Yan Mingyue thought of something and asked, "By the way, Master, the disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, Zhou Yunsong, who was taken away by the golden cicada great sage, is he?" Yun Yuanjin nodded. "I'm most likely right." Hearing this, Yan Mingyue sighed softly. "I knew it. There shouldn't be such a coincidence." The absolute Yin and the burning sun actually appeared at the same time. But this way, I'm afraid that what happened back then is another layer of hatred. She laughed self-deprecatingly. "However, it's not a big deal." Yun Yuanjin said, "What happened back then has long been buried, and there are no traces left. If we want to know the truth, we can only search his soul, but that's the last resort. It's too much just for a suspicion. But let's leave this matter to Dao Han. You and I don't need to get involved. I believe he will make his own decision." Yan Mingyue nodded and replied, "Yes, Master." The cloud that condensed into Yun Yuanjin's face gradually dissipated. Yan Mingyue stood on the spot for a while, then turned and walked towards Tianjing City. At the same time, in infinite wilderness vast land, Zhou Yunsong, who had been protected by Yang Qing with the lunar true water, finally woke up. Zhuge Zhan had been asking about his precious daughter's well-being. When he saw Zhou Yunsong, he was slightly surprised. "Oh, this is the junior brother from the same sect who has the burning sun physique that you mentioned, Wanqiu? It's not easy, not easy. It's really not easy that the burning sun physique didn't die young." Zhuge Wanqiu smiled and said, "Everyone was shocked when they found out about junior brother Zhou. When Zhou Yunsong woke up and saw Lin Feng, Yang Qing, and the others, he was slightly shocked. He then regained his senses and looked around, obviously knowing that he was saved. He bowed to Lin Feng and the others, and his lips moved. "Thank you, Ancestral Master." "Thank you, Master and Uncle Masters." Yang Qing looked at her only disciple. Her expression was still calm, but there was some warmth in the depths of her eyes. "Yunsong, you've suffered." Shi Tianhao smiled and said, "Master has already sought justice for you for that old bird that kidnapped you. That old worm, even if he doesn't die this time, he will lose half his life." Lin Feng waved his hand and looked at Zhou Yunsong. "Continue to adjust your breathing well. Don't mess up your inner qi and dermic powers." Zhou Yunsong nodded repeatedly and continued to adjust his breathing and recuperate under Yang Qing's watch. Lin Feng looked at Zhou Yunsong, and many thoughts appeared in his mind. This matter has many implications. As he thought, he led the group forward. Soon, they arrived at their destination, the ancestral land of the Phoenix clan and the divine Wudong Tree clan, the Wudong Forest. Previously, Lin Feng had heard Xiao Yan talk about the general situation of the Wudong Forest. Seeing the world in front of him, where fiery red and milky white interweaved like an independent world, he knew that he had arrived at the place. Lin Feng stood in the void. Wang Lin went forward to greet them on his behalf. After a while, the milky white pure yang true fire sea of fire in front of them parted to two sides, making a path. Through the parted sea of fire, they could see a dense forest below. The branches and leaves were green, and the tree trunks faintly emitted a fiery red glow. It flickered continuously, as if people were breathing. Even from far away, they could see that these trees were unbelievably huge. Lin Feng had obtained the cloud forest tree in the cloud forest world. Although it was unable to form a demon nascent soul because there was no void thunder tribulation in the medium-class world, because it had absorbed a large amount of spirit chi, its body was already extremely huge, reaching a height of 10,000 feet. A tree was taller than many lofty mountains and its crown covered the sky. But in the sea of trees in front of them, one could see trees that were even taller than the cloud forest tree at a glance. Of course, there were also smaller trees, and there were definitely more of them. Many large and small trees formed a huge sea of trees. The tree trunks flashed with a red light, and the milky white sea of fire in the surroundings shone brightly. If one really had to calculate carefully, the number of these giant trees wasn't that great, but because they were too large, when they were gathered together, it gave one a type of shocking feeling. They covered the sky and covered the earth, forming a world of their own, extremely magnificent. Shi Tianhao's eyes were slightly dazed as he looked at the Wudong forest in front of him. Tunton did the same thing as him. Wang Lin, Chu Yang, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, Luo Qinggu, and a group of younger disciples were also in awe. Lin Feng also watched this scene with interest. Among the 4 great trees in the world, the ginseng fruit tree has not been seen for many years. It has been rumored that it has been completely extinct for a long time. Nowadays, even the Salo iron tree and the Langhuan jade tree are extremely rare. Only the divine Wudong tree can grow on such a scale. At this moment, a beautiful phoenix cry rang out in the Wudong forest. Several figures flew out and welcomed Lin Feng. Chapter 962. A few divine Wudong trees could be clearly seen in the huge sea of Wudong trees before them, and they were clearly much taller than the others of the same species. These few largest divine Wudong trees did not gather together, but were spread out in the sea of trees. They seemed to be unrelated, but they seemed to form a simple yet profound formation. Li Yuanfang's eyes flickered as he looked at this scene, displaying a rare focus and obsession. In the center of the Wudong forest, there was a towering tree that was even taller than the others of the same species. That divine Wudong tree stood between the heavens and the earth, its height exceeding tens of thousands of feet. The diameter of the tree alone took up a large area of the entire Wudong forest. Lin Feng stared at that divine Wudong tree and nodded slightly. It was obvious that it was the Wudong Emperor without a doubt. The Wudong Emperor had yet to reveal its true form, or it would probably be even larger. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and Zhuge Zhan's gazes also landed on that huge divine Wudong tree. After looking for a moment, Wang Lin turned his head and revealed a rare hesitant expression. I feel like, the Wudong Emperor hasn't gone through the tribulation yet, right? But why does it give me the feeling that it's even more pressuring than facing a great demon like Xiang Lu? He and Zhu Yi were the two with the strongest spirits among Lin Feng's disciples, but their strengths were different as well. Comparatively speaking, Wang Lin's advantage lay in the strength and tenacity of his spirit. While his sensitivity and senses were inferior to Zhu Yi's, they were still rather extraordinary. Especially now that he had proven his primordial soul, his mystical powers had improved greatly, and his senses were outstanding as well. The Wudong Emperor had a mild temperament and did not reveal its true form, nor did it intentionally display its powerful demonic powers. However, Wang Lin could still vaguely see some clues. Shi Tianhao and Zhuge Zhan also looked at the huge divine Wudong tree in a daze, their faces revealing a contemplative expression. Lin Feng said calmly, be it humans or demons, among the currently known existences, putting aside the fact that the king of the underworld has come back to life, other than that old cicada, golden cicada, the Wudong tree emperor is probably the oldest. The number of years he has cultivated for must be counted in units of 10,000 years. A long time ago, he was already a great demon at the pinnacle of the astral soul fusion realm. But for some reason, he never experienced the tribulation. Lin Feng said, after a tribulation a few thousand years ago, his injuries have not healed, so the tribulation naturally had to be postponed indefinitely. When Tong came to the Wudong forest back then, she only managed to temporarily control the Wudong Emperor's injuries. She was not able to completely sever its roots. Lin Feng smiled. But even so, the Wudong tree emperor's demonic powers are extremely powerful and cannot be underestimated. With him overseeing this Wudong forest, coupled with the terrain and the help of his kin, there's no need to say more. However, if he could avoid fighting, the Wudong tree emperor would definitely not fight. On one hand, he doesn't like fighting, and on the other, if he were to fight against an expert of the same level, it's very likely that his injuries, which were already under control, would relapse again. Of course, as long as the great Phoenix Sage is here, there's no need for the Wudong tree emperor to fight anyone. The Phoenix race and the divine Wudong tree race live together, and they're almost one. The Great Phoenix Sage can also control the power of the Wudong Forest, the common ancestral land of the two races. The Great Phoenix Sage was the current leader of the Phoenix race, an unparalleled great demon of the degenerate realm, and one of the top experts of the vast Tianhuang land. As he spoke, a few crisp phoenix cries rang out from the Wudong Forest before them. Then, a few figures flew out of the Wudong Forest, heading towards Lin Feng and the others. The one at the front was an azure phoenix. Its entire body was azure like jade, without a single flaw. It had the head of a chicken, the jaw of a swallow, the neck of a snake, the back of a turtle, and the tail of a fish. Its entire body shone with 5-colored light. It wasn't big, only around 6 feet tall. But seeing the 5-colored light shimmering around this azure phoenix, Lin Feng and the others knew that this was a phoenix that had already begun to experience its first tribulation. The Great Phoenix Sage, the Black Phoenix, MOU, and the other phoenixes they had seen before all shone with golden light. Only after experiencing the first tribulation would the light around the phoenix race become 5-colored. If they completely passed the first tribulation and reached the degenerate realm, then no matter if it was a crimson phoenix, an azure phoenix, or a black phoenix, their feathers would all turn pure gold as they shone with 5-colored light. In this aspect, they were rather similar to the primordial celestial dragon race. However, there were still quite a few differences between the two, and they couldn't be lumped together. Beside the Great Phoenix Sage were old acquaintances. They were the Great Phoenix Sage, Crimson Phoenix Sage, and the Black Phoenix MOU. It was worth mentioning that MOU had now achieved an indestructible demon soul, so he had to be called the Great Sage MOU. When the Great Phoenix Sage saw Lin Feng, he nodded in greeting. "Greetings, Master of the Celestial Gate of Wonders." The Great Sage Fei Yi and MOU also bowed. "Master of the Celestial Gate of Wonders, how have you been?" Lin Feng nodded with a smile and returned the greeting. "I'm the one who has disturbed you. You're too polite. Master of the Celestial Gate of Wonders, please come inside." The Great Phoenix Sage turned around and led the way. Lin Feng and the others immediately followed, while the Great Sage Fei Yi and MOU followed on both sides. Although Lin Feng had previously joked about leaving Shi Tianhao and Tunton outside, it was just a joke. At this moment, Shi Tianhao and Tunton naturally came in together. The two didn't cause trouble and obediently followed behind Lin Feng. They just looked around with interest. The entire parasol tree forest was peaceful and tranquil. Even though the demonic energy fluctuations linked together like the sky and the ocean, boundless, it didn't seem to be ferocious and violent, but was instead lofty, and had an otherworldly aura. Under the guidance of the Great Phoenix Sage, the group of people came to the largest Wudong tree in the center of the Wudong forest. The branches and leaves of the Wudong tree swayed slightly, and on one of the branches, an old man with a gentle and elegant face and a noble temperament appeared. This old man cupped his hands towards Lin Feng, saying with a smile, "In front of the Master of the Celestial Gate, Jingfang Qinggu pays his respects here. I still have to thank fellow Taoist for letting little friend Lin Tong come over before, resolving this old man's difficulties." This old man was the leader of the divine Wudong Tree clan, the Wudong Tree Emperor. Rays of light were projected behind the Wudong Tree Emperor, turning into human figures. There were middle-aged and young people, and all of them were dressed like scholars. Many of the divine Wudong trees in the Wudong forest used their demonic power to project light shadows over. They followed behind the Wudong Tree Emperor and cupped their hands at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and returned the greeting. "Wudong Tree Emperor, you're too kind. Tong has seen the light of day again from the Kunpeng's belly. This is the will of heaven. I'm just doing what I can. Carrying out the ceremony has been of great help to Tong, and I, Xian Men Tianzong, have even obtained the pure Yang True Fire. I should be thanking you instead. Master of the Celestial Gate of Wonders, there's no need to be so polite." A clear voice sounded from the top of the giant tree where the Wudong Tree Emperor was. Then, a 5-colored radiance descended and stood beside the Wudong Tree Emperor. It was a female phoenix that was completely scarlet gold in color and shone with 5-colored light. Unlike the other phoenixes like the blue phoenix sage, this female phoenix was not only scarlet gold in color, but there seemed to be 5 symbols carved all over her body. The first symbol was virtue, the wing symbol was obedience, the back symbol was righteousness, the belly symbol was faith, and the yin symbol was benevolence. These 5 symbols were not written in human language, but when Lin Feng and the others looked over, they could vaguely understand what they meant. It was completely scarlet gold in color, and there were 5 symbols on its body. It shone with 5-colored light. It was a phoenix at the last day's realm. Someone at this realm was undoubtedly the great phoenix sage of this generation. After the 2 parties exchanged greetings, the great phoenix sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor invited Xianmen Tianzong and the others to take their seats. Regarding the grudge between Lin Feng and the Dragon Clan, the Phoenix Clan indeed adopted a neutral stance. From what they knew, the Scarlet Thunder Dragon King wanted to interfere with Lin Feng's obtaining of the Yingzhou Immortal Mountain. Both parties were normal enemies. The Scarlet Thunder Dragon King was defeated by Lin Feng and died, and the Dragon Clan wanted to seek revenge on Lin Feng. It was all reasonable, and there was no right or wrong. Since that was the case, both parties would rely on their own abilities. It was just that after Lin Feng killed the Scarlet Thunder Dragon King and refined him into his clone, the Phoenix Clan and the Divine Wudong Tree Clan had some complaints, but it was not enough to affect their relationship. Be it the Great Phoenix Sage or the Wudong Tree Emperor, they were both open and honest, and they told Lin Feng what they thought. Lin Feng smiled and did not argue further. This involved the perception of different races, and there was no point in discussing it further. If a human powerhouse died at the hands of the Great Phoenix Sage or the Wudong Tree Emperor, perhaps he would be given a proper burial. However, if he died at the hands of a dragon powerhouse or other demons, his grave would definitely be the other party's stomach. The Great Phoenix Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor did not continue on this topic. After chatting for a while, Lin Feng went straight to the point and stated the purpose of his visit. However, he used his transcendence energy to transmit his voice, so only the Great Phoenix Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor could hear him. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but please tell me, my friends, Lin Feng looked at the Wudong Tree Emperor and said, who was the culprit behind the calamity that befell you back then? I know this is a rude question, but this is an important matter. If I have offended you, please do not take it to heart. The Great Phoenix Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor looked at each other and remained silent for a while. After a while, the Wudong Tree Emperor sighed slightly and said, I've embarrassed myself in front of the Celestial Sect Master. Even now, I am still not sure who that person is. Lin Feng's pupils contracted slightly as he looked at the Wudong Tree Emperor. The Great Phoenix Sage nodded, and the Great Phoenix Sage said, I was not in the Wudong Forest when I was out. The other party suddenly attacked and injured Jing Fang. However, the other party seemed to be shrouded in mist, and it was difficult to discern her true appearance. She did not reveal any special abilities, so I was unable to see the true form of her race. She seemed to know what Lin Feng was thinking. She shook her head and said, she is not the heavenly enchantress who is currently active in the infinite wilderness. Although there are many similarities between the two, the heavenly enchantress only appeared after the last war between the two worlds. She has only recently reached the degenerate realm. Lin Feng said quietly, even if she had already come into being before the war, but at the time, if she wanted to injure fellow Taoist Wudong Tree Emperor in the Wudong Forest and still escape unscathed without revealing anything, the possibility is not high. However, the Enchantress and the Death Prison Heavenly Wolf under her command are senior and junior. Since that is the case, she must have a master. The Great Phoenix Sage nodded slightly. I have the same guess as well. Therefore, although I have to stay in the Wudong Forest all these years, I have also sent Sang Yuan to investigate the Heavenly Enchantress. However, the other party is very perceptive, and her whereabouts are also very secretive. I have never found anything. Silently, the Wudong Tree Emperor said, back then, that person was extremely powerful, and for some reason, had a deep understanding of the Wudong Forest. He broke through many restrictions. When the Heavenly Phoenix went out, I was the only one in the Wudong Forest. It was extremely dangerous to face that person. If not for what happened later, I'm afraid that my injuries would have been even more severe, and I might even have died completely. Oh. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he looked at the Wudong Tree Emperor. Chapter 963. What happened next? Lin Feng noticed the Wudong Tree Emperor's words, and his gaze froze. The Wudong Tree Emperor nodded and slowly said, "Shuahua Yudu of the Yudu race appeared and helped me force them back." Lin Feng didn't say anything, but he frowned. He had heard of the name Shuahua Yudu before. In the past, Yu Huang Heavenly Sea ruled over Tianhuang continent, and the Yudu race became the strongest race in the demon world. Other than Yu Huang Heavenly Sea herself, the Yudu race also produced many strong practitioners. Shuahua Yudu was one of the top figures. Usually, people called her Great Sage Shuahua. She was a great demon of Yudu on the Dharma ending realm, and was rumored to be Yudu Tianhai's younger sister. However, Great Sage Shuahua had already fallen in the previous war between the two worlds. Lin Feng muttered, "From what I know, the Phoenix race and the Divine Wudong Tree race didn't participate in the previous war." The Great Phoenix Saint nodded. "That's right." Lin Feng stared at the Great Phoenix Saint and the Wudong Tree Emperor. According to the style of the Phoenix race and the Divine Wudong Tree race, they would repay kindness. Although they might not be willing to participate in the war between the Divine Land and Tianhuang continent, if Yu Huang Heavenly Sea and Great Sage Shuahua made a request, the Great Phoenix Saint and the Wudong Tree Emperor most likely wouldn't reject it. The Great Phoenix Saint didn't say anything. Her expression was calm, and there were no fluctuations in her gaze. However, it was precisely this abnormal look that allowed Lin Feng to see some clues. It was clearly an attitude of disdain. The Wudong Tree Emperor, who was beside her, sighed and continued, "Yu Huang Heavenly Sea ruled over Tianhuang continent in the past, sweeping through all the demons. Although the Wudong Tree Forest is in seclusion, the Yudu race won't forget us. However, no matter if it's the Phoenix race or me, we don't want to be involved in the war with the Divine Land, so we rejected Yu Huang Heavenly Sea. To be able to make Yu Huang Heavenly Sea return empty-handed, the Phoenix race and the Wudong Tree race are indeed extraordinary," Lin Feng praised plainly. The Wudong Tree sovereign shook his head and sighed. He spoke honestly, "I'm not afraid that the Profound Gate Lord would find this a joke." Back then, Yo Huang's innate techniques were truly world-shaking. Even if our two races joined forces, we would still be prepared to perish together. With the temperaments of the Phoenix and the Divine Wudong Tree, this was a very normal reaction. They vowed to die rather than submit, and they would never be threatened by others. At worst, they would be exterminated. However, Lin Feng frowned. This seat doesn't believe that a character like Yu Huang Tianhai would give up so easily. Those who submit will prosper, those who oppose will perish, right? The Wudong Tree Emperor nodded. In the past, Heavenly Phoenix had a close relationship with Shuahua Yudu. Because of this, Yu Huang's Celestial Sea didn't act forcefully, and the Wudong Forest was protected. After that, feeling gratitude for Snow Hua Yudu lending a helping hand again, Heaven Phoenix finally decided to follow the Yudu race to participate in the war between the two worlds. When the war officially started, I was injured, so I stayed in the Parasol Tree Forest. At this point, the Wudong Tree Emperor shook his head slowly. I just didn't expect that everything was a scam. Shuahua Yudu is actually related to the person who invaded the Parasol Tree Forest and injured me that day. Lin Feng heard this and came to a realization. So that's how it is. The Wudong Tree Emperor said, at that time, the war between the two worlds had already erupted, but Heaven Phoenix and the others didn't have time to make a move. They received the news at the last moment, and after some verification, although there were still many doubts that hadn't been solved, they knew that we had been scammed, so they immediately returned to the Parasol Tree Forest and didn't participate in the war. Lin Feng looked at the silent Phoenix Great Sage and shook his head with a smile. Although my understanding of Yu Huang's Celestial Sea is only superficial, according to my impression of his style of doing things, this doesn't seem to be his style. It's most likely that Great Sage Shuahua took charge of this matter and made this plan. The Wudong Tree Emperor sighed and said, no matter if it's Tianhai or Shuahua, they are already dead. There's no meaning in talking about these things now. Lin Feng shook his head and didn't say anything. To him, it was still useful to clarify the mysteries. Whether the mysterious person who was suspected to be the enchantress's teacher was related to great sage Xuehua alone or the entire Yudu race, the difference was huge. If he was acquainted with the entire Yudu race and Yu Huang's celestial sea, then he could verify one of Lin Feng's conjectures. If it was just great sage Xuehua's personal connections, then it would be a completely different situation. Lin Feng raised his eyes to look at the Wudong Tree Emperor and the Phoenix Great Sage. Forgive me for asking, but back then, Great Sage Phoenix, how did you find out the truth? At this moment, the Phoenix Great Sage opened his mouth and said, the Divine Land. Lin Feng nodded and didn't say anything. As human cultivators of the Divine Land, they naturally didn't wish for the Phoenix race and the Divine Parasol Tree race to participate in the war between the two worlds. However, the credibility of the news they spread should be guaranteed. After all, the Phoenix Great Sage wouldn't be moved by just a few words. He would definitely verify it in detail and only make the final decision when there was concrete evidence. As expected, the Phoenix Great Sage continued to say, the person who invaded the Parasol Forest seemed to have been heavily injured by human cultivators. Later on, with the protection of Xuehua Yudu, he managed to escape. Because of his injuries, he left behind some clues, allowing those human cultivators to know about what happened in the Parasol Forest back then. Thus, they informed me about it. According to the response from that side, his injuries were rather severe, and it's unknown whether he's dead or alive. However, I'm not sure about the specifics. After the war between the two worlds, because the Wudong Tree Emperor was injured, the Phoenix Great Sage almost never left the Parasol Forest. However, the Phoenix race never gave up on investigating what happened back then. It was just that they didn't gain much, and there weren't many valuable things. She looked at Lin Feng and nodded. As for the specifics of the other party, I'm not very clear either. However, he's definitely related to Xuehua Yudu. As for whether he's related to Yu Huang's Celestial Sea or the entire Yudu race, I can't say for sure. When Lin Feng heard this, his brows furrowed slightly, and he sank into deep thought. If it was really as the Phoenix Great Sage had said, the Divine Land of the human world should have more information about the background of this mysterious person who was very likely to be related to the Enchantress. However, the reality was that there was almost no useful information from the Divine Land. As far as Lin Feng knew, even the Taishu Temple didn't know much about the background of the Enchantress. As for this person who invaded the Parasol Forest and injured the Wudong Tree Emperor, almost no one in the Divine Land knew anything about him. It was as if he had never existed. If it wasn't for the Taishu Temple pretending to be ignorant and keeping the information a secret, then who was it that leaked the information to the Phoenix Great Sage back then? Great Thunderclap Monastery. A name that was about to become history appeared in Lin Feng's mind. In that case, Yu Huang's Celestial Sea didn't choose Great Thunderclap Monastery as the location of the final battle back then for no reason. From this, we can see that the person who invaded the Parasol Forest isn't just related to Xuehua Yudu. He's also related to Yu Huang's Celestial Sea. Lin Feng sighed softly and thought to himself, in that case, my guess has been verified. Although there are still many things I'm unclear about, the entire clue is gradually connecting. He shook his head and laughed. Well, half a clue is still only half a clue. There are still many things I'm unclear about, but it's enough for now. Lin Feng composed himself and cupped his hands towards the Phoenix Great Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor. I've been rude today. I still have to thank the two of you for clearing up my doubts. The Phoenix Great Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor shook their heads in unison. Master of Mystic Gate, you're too courteous. After exchanging greetings for a while, Lin Feng also extended an invitation to the Phoenix Great Sage and the Wudong Tree Emperor to be his guests at Jade Capital Mountain. Then, he brought Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others out of the Parasol Forest. After leaving the ancestral lands of the Phoenix race and the divine Wudong Tree clan, the group flew in midair. Lin Feng was still in deep thought. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others looked at each other. Lin Feng had communicated with the Wudong Tree Emperor and the Phoenix Great Sage using voice transmissions, so they couldn't hear it. What did Master talk about with the Phoenix Great Sage and the others? Luo Qinggu asked curiously. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, Li Yuanfang, and Yang Qing all shook their heads. They were also at a loss and couldn't answer their little junior sister's question. Lin Feng collected his thoughts and smiled at his disciples. It's nothing. I've cleared up some of the doubts in my heart, but I've added some other worries. Although there were some more worries in his heart, Lin Feng's expression was relaxed, and his gaze was calm. Seeing this, Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others knew that things were not urgent. Shi Tianhao smiled and looked at Zhuge Zhan, who was flying with Zhuge Wanqiu. He smiled and asked, Mr. Zhuge, what do you plan to do next? Zhuge Zhan cupped his hands at Lin Feng and Shi Tianhao. I entered the void battlefield and achieved my goal. I don't plan to run around anymore. I want to spend some time with my precious daughter. Shi Tianhao said, usually, it's fine to let Wanqiu go out and travel the world with you, Mr. Zhuge, to broaden her horizons and enjoy family happiness at the same time. But now that she's back, it's time for her to enter seclusion and form her Azoth core. Although there won't be any problems with Mr. Zhuge watching over her, Wanqiu is a disciple of our sect after all. It's more beneficial for me, as her master, to watch over her when she forms her Azoth core. Zhuge Zhan nodded. Of course, I understand. I'll have to trouble you from now on. Zhuge Wanqiu could naturally switch to learn his divine light of the sun path and let him watch over her Azoth core. However, Zhuge Zhan was still very satisfied with Xianmen Tianzong. His daughter had been learning from Shi Tianhao for many years now, and Zhuge Zhan didn't want her to change her path halfway. After witnessing Xianmen Tianzong's path, Zhuge Zhan, who had always been arrogant, was also full of admiration in his heart. What's more, his daughter got along well with her fellow disciples and had many close friends. Unlike when she was with him, she rarely even had a close friend. She was all alone, so Zhuge Zhan naturally couldn't bear to separate his daughter from her close friends. However, he was even more reluctant to separate from his daughter, whom he hadn't seen for many years and had finally reunited with after much difficulty. After thinking for a while, he solemnly cupped his hands at Lin Feng. Lord Lin, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you can allow it. Chapter 964. Zhuge Zhan said to Lin Feng solemnly, Sect leader Lin, I hope to find a place to stay on your Yujing mountain. I hope you'll allow it. With his personality, he would not think of leaning against a big tree to enjoy the shade. For him, freedom was far more enjoyable than joining a certain sect. Today, he suddenly changed his mind. On one hand, he admired the style of the celestial sect of wonders, and at the same time, he was convinced. On the other hand, he was reluctant to part with his long-lost daughter again. Lin Feng smiled. You're too kind, brother Zhuge. If you want to stay on the mountain, you can be a guest in Xianmen Gate. You can do whatever you want, and there won't be too many rules to hold you back. Zhuge Zhan replied, I'm very grateful for sect leader Lin's generosity. I know my own personality, but since I've disturbed your sect, I'll naturally follow the rules. If there's anything you want me to do, sect leader Lin can tell me. My daughter is now a disciple of your sect. In the future, I'll need your guidance. I'm sorry for troubling you. Lin Feng said, you don't have to be so polite. Wanqiu has entered our sect. Her master and I will naturally protect her. Zhuge Wanqiu was happy to see that her father would return to the mountain with them, but she was also slightly embarrassed. Fortunately, although Han Yang, Huang Zhenting, Tan Yunqing, and the others were surprised that her father was a great cultivator of the path integration realm, they were only surprised. They did not look at her strangely, and there was nothing unusual when they talked to each other. Only Huang Zhenting could not help but chuckle when he saw that Zhuge Zhan was going back with them. The others were confused. Han Yang stretched out his hand and waved it in front of Huang Zhenting. Senior brother Huang, what's wrong? Huang Zhenting chuckled. Rosa has been pestering senior sister Wanqiu. He's too stubborn, and senior sister Wanchio is too gentle. I've always been worried that if senior sister Wanchio agreed, she might be bullied in the future. But from the looks of it now, there's no need to worry. It's still a problem whether Rosa can pass senior Zhuge, ha 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 ha. Han Yang couldn't help but roll his eyes when he saw Huang Zhenting roaring with laughter. He was rather speechless. The corners of Tan Yinqing's mouth twitched slightly when she heard this. She was momentarily at a loss for words. Both of them shook their heads and paid no further attention to Huang Zhenting, who was still immersed in his fantasies, and they continued to meditate cross-legged while nurturing their dermic energies, comprehending Tao arts, and seriously summarizing the gains they'd obtained from this trip to infinite wilderness. Not only Zhuge Wanqiu, but Han Yang, Huang Zhenting, and Tan Yinqing had also gained a lot. After experiencing the continuous fierce battles with the Chouchen clan and the carrying heaven ant clone refined by the great sage Lu Yuan, the four of them felt as if the clouds had dispelled and the sun had come out, and the bottleneck in their cultivation had loosened. After that, they witnessed their own master, and even ancestor Lin Feng's intense battle with a group of great demons, which was an eye-opener for them. Although it was difficult for them to understand most things with their current eyesight, the gains they'd gained were enough for them to digest and study for a long time. After leaving the parasol tree forest, Lin Feng led the group of disciples across infinite wilderness and back to the divine land. The goal of this trip had been achieved, so Lin Feng needed to go back and sort out the gains he'd gained from this trip. The gains that could be seen and felt needed to be sorted out, and things like the Star Ocean portal that still needed to be figured out required him to calm down and study slowly. The previous battle allowed Lin Feng to make a name for himself in Tianhuang mainland. On the way back, no one dared to touch his whiskers. The only expert that Lin Feng could vaguely sense was the current clan leader of the primordial demon ape clan, the Great Sage. However, from the time Lin Feng walked to the realm passage that connected infinite wilderness and the divine land, the great sage remained silent. Naturally, Lin Feng knew what he was thinking about. Playing with the disc fragment that he'd obtained from Golden Cicada, Lin Feng smiled. That disc was Jihuang Xinyuan's relic, and after it was broken, it was divided into 5 pieces. The great sage obtained 2 fragments, while Lin Feng, the enchantress, and the Golden Rock Great Sage each obtained 1. The Great Sage naturally hoped to reassemble all the fragments. However, the Great Sage now had a clear understanding of Lin Feng's strength. Now that he was alone and had left the Spirit Abyss Mountain, he couldn't do anything to Lin Feng, and could only watch as Lin Feng returned to the Divine Land. Returning to the Divine Land through the Realm Passage, Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. Tenryu Zhen didn't come after all. Lin Feng shook his head slightly. Then, Taishu Temple, it's all up to you. However, I don't think there'll be much success, unless you bring the Haotian mirror into the mysterious sea. Everyone's fighting for time. Lin Feng chuckled. Looking at the southern wilderness of the divine land in front of him, he turned into a conveyance light and broke through the air. However, he soon stopped and looked to the east. After carefully scanning with his divine senses, his eyes narrowed slightly. The spatial realm is not as stable as before. Lin Feng's eyes were calm and peaceful. When the heaven-punishing sword was completed, there was a faint movement in the Netherworld Sea. The Netherworld Sea, one of the 7 seas of Tianyuan, was completely sealed most of the time. It was not connected to the vast 1,000 domains, but cracks would occasionally appear. Generally speaking, although the specific location of the cracks in the Netherworld Sea was not fixed, the general area was fixed. It was in the southern wilderness of the Divine Land, near the area where Lin Feng was now. Lin Feng stared at the surroundings for a moment, then retracted his gaze. He broke through the void and continued on his way back to the Kunlun mountain range. When he arrived at the Kunlun mountain range, Yujing Mountain also appeared in the void due to his mind. It floated above the Cloud Peak, overlooking the Cloud Peak Mirror Lake and Cloud Mirror City below. After receiving the news, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, Yu Hongyan, and the others also came out to welcome Lin Feng back to the mountain. Lin Feng glanced around and discovered that Zhu Yi did not come down from Yujing Mountain. Instead, he flew into the air from the Mirror Lake outside Cloud Mirror City. After not seeing for a long time, Lin Feng discovered with interest that on the shore of the Mirror Lake, in the Kunlun Mountains about 30 miles away from Cloud Mirror City, another large empty space has been opened up. And there, right now, stands a huge courtyard palace. This courtyard occupied a vast area. Although it was not as big as Cloud Mirror City, it was still very spectacular. It was like a small city. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi and smiled. "Little Yi, is this the Mirror Lake Academy you mentioned before?" Zhu Yi nodded and said solemnly, "Yes, master." Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others also sized up the courtyard palace in front of them curiously. Back in Infinite Mainland, Zhu Yi had once reported to Lin Feng via voice transmission that he wanted to build an academy by the Mirror Lake. Lin Feng did not object and asked him to handle it himself. Wang Lin and the others also knew about it. However, like Lin Feng, they did not know much. Now that they really saw this academy, everyone was also rather interested. Shi Tianhao asked curiously, "Second senior brother, what does this academy teach and what kind of disciples do they accept? If there are good seedlings, why don't they just bring them to the foot of the cloud peak and walk the heart-reflecting staircase?" Zhu Yi said with a smile, "They don't teach Dharmic Tao here. Instead, they teach everything. All kinds of knowledge and principles are taught." "Oh." Shi Tianhao was slightly stunned. Wang Lin and the others looked over as well, waiting for Zhu Yi to answer them. Zhu Yi said slowly, "While I've been cultivating, I've also been working on simplifying and perfecting various Dharmic Tao. I hope that everyone in the world can cultivate and understand the principles so that they will no longer be ignorant and mediocre. Although I've gained limited results, I've gained some insights. Master often teaches us that there are great Taos and minor Taos. Everything in the world has its own principles, so I intend to start from these aspects. At the same time that I comprehend the Taoist scriptures from top to bottom, I can also summarize the principles from bottom to top, combining the two to verify. Although it's still just a hypothesis, if the people of the world can grasp more knowledge and apply it to their daily lives, then they can become self-reliant and self-reliant. It will be of great benefit to all living beings in the world. The civilization of man, the blossoming of 100 flowers, this is the right path." Luo Qinggu looked at the huge academy. After listening to Zhu Yi's words, she thought for a while and asked, "Senior apprentice brother Zhu Yi, according to your idea, this academy shouldn't just be a secular academy that only talks about poetry, books, and etiquette. At most, it should also include things like horsemanship, archery, and music, right?" Zhu Yi smiled. "Of course, there are all the principles that a scholar should learn, but it's definitely not limited to that." He pointed at the magnificent Mirror Lake Academy and said with a smile, "Studying things to gain knowledge, studying things to gain knowledge, everything is not inferior. It's not only about studying, but also about applying what you've learned. This is the right principle. According to my plan, there will be many subjects such as policy theory, economics, military affairs, law, history, culture and education, etiquette, astronomy, geography, arithmetic, medicine, agriculture, machinery, handicrafts, trade, and so on. They will all be taught at the same time. Scholars who are lofty and only know how to talk and see other professions as lowly jobs are not worthy of being called scholars. They are just bookworms who don't work hard and can't distinguish between the 5 grains." The saints said that education is not discriminating. Everyone is different. Just because one doesn't have talent in one aspect doesn't mean that he can't walk his own path in other aspects. This is the reason why I built this academy to be different from all the other academies in the secular world. Wang Lin looked at the academy in front of him and revealed a faint smile. "If I hadn't embarked on the path of cultivation, perhaps I would have become a carpenter." Hearing this, the others also laughed. Zhu Yi said with a smile, "It's better to teach a man to fish than to give a man a fish. For example, people like us can summon clouds and rain to rain on a land that has been suffering from drought for a long time. It's as easy as lifting a finger. But if we keep doing this, what's the point of making the secular people rely on us? People have to be self-reliant and strive to improve. My academy will recruit talents and continuously study them. They will have achievements in irrigation and agriculture so that those who are willing to learn can master them and bring them back to their hometowns to improve the environment of their hometowns. Their contributions to the present generation will be beneficial to the future generations. Zhu Yi said, actually, I've made a fool of myself. This Mirror Lake Academy is just a big framework that I've built. There aren't many teachers and students, but I believe that with the passage of time, it will grow. I've already sent out the news and recruited many talents. I've also put in effort to study various aspects of knowledge. Once everything is on the right track, I think things will be much better. At this point, Zhu Yi suddenly laughed. In addition, I intend to let the disciples of my Qiantian Palace come to Mirror Lake Academy and take turns to gain experience. Chapter 965. I hope that your disciples can understand your painstaking efforts. Xiao Yan at the side smiled and said, I will also tell my sect's disciples about this matter. But whether they are willing to go or not will depend on their own intentions. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, Luo Qingguo, and the others all smiled and nodded. Yang Qing looked at the Mirror Lake Academy and asked softly, second senior apprentice brother, although we have good relations with the great Qin dynasty, Purple Heaven Dao, Northern Militant Imperial Court, and other forces, the world is vast. Even cultivators of our generation sometimes feel that the road is not short. If it was a mortal who wanted to come to this academy to study, I'm afraid they wouldn't have the strength to do so. Zhu Yi nodded his head. Fifth junior brother's concern is right. Therefore, this academy is currently mainly aimed at the northern part of the Kunlun mountain range, as well as the surrounding areas. Those who wish to come here to study can head to Sand Continent City. I have arranged for someone there to send the scholars here through the teleportation array. When this Mirror Lake Academy develops and gets on the right track, depending on the external environment, it will spread out and spread throughout the world. This kind of academy will slowly spread throughout the Divine Prefecture, benefiting everyone in the world. Zhu Yi pointed at Mirror Lake Academy and said with a smile, before this, I was still talking about the principle of studying things to gain knowledge. Right now, this first academy is an experiment. If there are any problems in the process of development, we can adjust in time. We have to use the actual situation to verify my ideas. Otherwise, if we blindly promote it and mislead the students, it will not be good. Zhu Yi said, I will personally keep an eye on this place. Once there are initial achievements, we will promote it. Lin Feng said with a smile, Little Yi, go ahead and do it. This may seem insignificant to cultivators, but it is actually a magnificent feat that will benefit the common people. Zhu Yi smiled and bowed respectfully to Lin Feng. I will do my best. The group went up Jade Jing Mountain and settled Zhuge Zhan and the younger disciples first. Then, Lin Feng turned his gaze to Chu Yang and suddenly asked, What do you think of the Blood River sect's techniques? Chu Yang replied respectfully, It is quite unique. This junior has only comprehended a little of it. Lin Feng looked at him and suddenly laughed. He nodded and said, Your mind is very clear. Not bad. Now go down the mountain. The next time you go up the mountain, I will allow you to observe the Cangtian Dao Jian. Chu Yang bowed. Thank you for your magnanimity, sect master. With that, he left the mountain under the guidance of an outer sect steward. After Chu Yang went down the mountain, Xiao Yan and the others gathered in front of Lin Feng and chatted with him. As they spoke, Xiao Yan suddenly thought of something and said to Lin Feng, By the way, Master, Mr. Miao has been in seclusion to break through to the primordial soul realm and has not come out yet. After leaving Yingxi, Miao Shihao had started cultivating in seclusion not long after he had obtained the circular jade annulus. After that, he had exchanged all his contribution points for the sect and entered Xiantian Time Light Cave. There had been no news of him since then. According to the time of the vast thousand world, it had been nearly 2 years. The time that Miao Shihao spent cultivating in his cave residence and the time that he spent in seclusion in the mysterious heaven Timeless Light Cave heaven added up to more than 100 years. During the battle of destroying Xian, when the enemies had attacked the mountain, there had been no movement from Miao Shihao. Although he had been in seclusion for more than 100 years, Xianmen Tianzong did not pay much attention to him. The difficulty of breaking through to the primordial soul realm was not as simple as it seemed. After all, cases like Shi Tianhao and Lin Daohan were extremely rare. Although Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and Wang Lin had succeeded in breaking through in one go with the help of the 33 Heavens Fortune Immortal Pill, they had actually spent a long time accumulating and polishing in the late Yuanying realm. Only after they had a solid foundation did they soar into the sky. Even Shi Tianhao, who had achieved the Heaven and Earth avatar in the Void battlefield and advanced to the late Yuanying realm, had to go through a period of patient training to become the youngest primordial soul realm cultivator in history. No one could predict the bottleneck on the path of cultivation. There were many veteran nascent soul cultivators who had been stuck at the peak of the late stage of nascent soul realm, unable to push the door open, and could only watch as their 3,600 years of life came to an end. However, Miao Shihao had previously said that it would not be difficult to break through to the primordial soul realm after obtaining the circular jade annulus. But now, it did not look as easy as he had predicted, so it attracted the attention of everyone in Xianmen Tianzong. Lin Feng shook his head. He did not think too highly of himself. Before entering the Ying Ocean, I saw that he was indeed only a step away from becoming a primordial soul realm. After obtaining the circular jade annulus, it was as easy as walking on flat ground, but it was not far from it. I'm afraid that it is not a bad thing that he has not succeeded. Instead, it is a good thing. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others looked at each other. Oh. What do you mean? Lin Feng looked at the top of the mysterious heaven precious tree and in the direction of the mysterious heaven timeless cave. He said indifferently, he should have gained something in the process of cultivating in seclusion, which is beneficial to him. Yu Hongyan thought for a while and said, Master, I am still far from breaking through to the primordial soul realm. I will give the 33 days fortune immortal pill that you gave me to Miao Shihao first. Due to the limited number of galaxy purple Zoisha pills, the number of 33 days fortune immortal pills that Xiao Yan had refined in the first cauldron was also very small. This was the result of his alchemy skills improving day by day, so he did not waste many medicinal ingredients. Speaking of which, if the cauldron had exploded or been completely ruined that day, Xiao Yan would probably have been so depressed that he would have jumped down from Yujing Mountain. In this first cauldron of pills, a total of 633 days fortune immortal pills were produced. He, Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and Shi Tianhao each naturally had one. They had all played a decisive role in the Xian extermination battle. As for the remaining two pills, Yu Hongyan and Yang Qing, who were at the Yuanying stage, each had one. They were temporarily kept in reserve. Li Yuanfang and Luo Qingguo, who had yet to form their nascent souls, did not have any objections. Lin Feng shook his head. It is not that Shihao has encountered a bottleneck that he cannot break through. If I am not wrong, as long as he is willing, after cultivating in seclusion, there is actually hope for him to break through to the primordial soul realm. The reason why it has been delayed until now is because of other reasons. After thinking for a while, Lin Feng flicked his finger, and a stream of light landed in front of Yu Hongyan. Yu Hongyan hurriedly caught it. She looked curiously at the light in her palm and felt the faint power in it. She was a little surprised. This seems to be Buddhist light, but there seems to be some other power in it. Lin Feng said, this is what Golden Cicada, that old cicada, wanted to get from Yun Song. It is actually some information. Compared to the 33 days fortune immortal pills, this information is more helpful to Shihao. Heng Yan, enter the mysterious heaven time light utopia and give it to him. Then, return. You guys take a look at this information. Hearing this, Yu Hongyan bowed and said, Yes, Master. After saying this, he paused and turned into a ray of light, flying toward the mysterious heaven time light utopia on the top of the mysterious heaven treasure tree and entering it. After a while, Yu Hongyan returned. Lin Feng flicked his finger, and 8 streams of light fell into the foreheads of his 8 disciples. Silently, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others analyzed the information. Looking at the silent and terrifying Dead Sea and the scene of the supreme yin-yang mirror shattering, they did not speak for a long time. Master. Zhu Yi and Yang Qing looked at each other, then looked at Lin Feng together. When we met Yun Song. Lin Feng said, I know, all of you know what's going on. Everyone nodded. Luo Qinggu sighed softly. I didn't expect it to be like this. After sighing, her expression changed slightly. Wait, doesn't that mean? She suddenly looked up at Lin Feng. Beside her, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others did the same. Seeing this, Lin Feng smiled. You're right. It's most likely so. Everyone's expression suddenly became a little strange. Lin Feng waved his hand and said with a smile, all right, let's go. Little Lin, Tianhao, Little Qing, Yuan Fang, Little Wu, go back and carefully study the Dharma. Little Yan, Little Yi, Hong Yan, the three of you don't relax either. I'll test you later. The disciples immediately bowed and took their leave. Lin Feng walked slowly to the edge of Yujing Mountain's peak and looked into the distance, deep in thought. After a long time, he retracted his gaze and continued to suppress White Tiger Sage, Sangtian Dao Jian, and Lu Yuan Great Sage. Then, he began to deal with his spoils of war in Infinite Wilderness. The Star Ocean portal was refined into White Tiger Sage's body by that idiot. Lin Feng did not plan to kill him for the time being. He still needed to patiently study how to retrieve the portal without harming his life. He obtained it from Golden Cicada, the Golden Alms Bowl from Gautama Buddha, and the disc fragment from Extreme Emperor. These things could not be rushed and needed time to be analyzed. Among the remaining things, the most valuable was the Kunlun Dragon King's Dragon Claw. This was the real ancient heavenly dragon's claw, the flesh and blood of a Dharma-ending realm great demon beast's true form. The value of this claw was even higher than the complete demon body of the ancestral alligator great sage, a great demon beast of the unity of star and soul realm. However, Lin Feng was still a little hesitant about whether to let the Brontosaurus clone devour and refine the claw with the dragon divine heavenly armor. Uao Dragon King's true blood was a treasure that could cleanse a human cultivator's body. To his kin, White Light, it was a priceless treasure. However, the true blood of a white jade dragon at the level of astral soul as one could not be used by just anyone. The flesh and blood collected after the Kunlun Dragon King's tail exploded also needed to be dealt with. In the following days, Lin Feng settled down to guide his disciples in the cultivation of Dharma. At the same time, he sorted out his gains from this trip to Infinite Wilderness. It was not only material gains, but also his own Dharma and mystic powers. After fighting with so many demons, Lin Feng also gained some understanding of his own Dharma and mystic powers. In addition, he also received some people who came to visit him and congratulate him on his successful trip. At the same time, news from the Divine Land, Infinite Wilderness, and various other places were also collected and sent back to Yujing Mountain as usual. Soon, Lin Feng received an expected piece of news. After he caused a ruckus in Infinite Wilderness, Taishu Temple also made a move there. Chapter 966. The Kun Dragon King and the Blue Sky Dragon King were severely injured by Lin Feng, and the ancestral crocodile Great Sage was killed. Under such circumstances, the Yuan Dragon King remained in the Xian Sea and did not come out. According to the personality of the dragon race, this was obviously abnormal behavior. After all, the Yuan Dragon King's personality was not as gentle as the Kun Dragon King's. Under such circumstances, both Xianmen Tianzong and the Taishu Temple came to the same conclusion. There was most likely something more important that was holding the Yuan Dragon King back. The most likely situation was that this demon in the Dharma-ending state had been accumulating for many years. After gaining enough confidence, he attempted to challenge the creation tribulation and the collapse of the Great Tao. In fact, the worst-case scenario was that the Yuan Dragon King had successfully passed the tribulation and was now in a state of recovery. After Lin Feng returned to the Divine Land, the Taishu Temple also made a move in Tianhuang Vast Land. Their target was also the dragon race in the Xian Sea. However, the Taishu Temple did not enter the Xian Sea directly. Instead, they set their target on the Purple Mist Sea. The Purple Mist Sea was the territory of the Purple Sea Dragon King. It was the external face of the dragon race in Tianhuang vast land when most of the dragon race lived in seclusion in the Xian Sea. The Purple Sea Dragon King was usually the one in charge, but the demons of Tianhuang vast land did not dare to look down on him. Everyone knew that the dragon race stood behind the Purple Sea Dragon King. He was the strongest race in Tianhuang vast land. However, this time, the Taishu Temple was stepping on the Purple Mist Sea. Although the Haotian Mirror did not leave the White Cloud Mountain, the Tai Dao Lord and Shoichi Dashin personally led the team to Tianhuang vast land. A group of big shots from the Taishu Temple went to the Purple Mist Sea together. Seeming to have also sensed the unusual intentions of the Yuan Dragon King in the mysterious sea, the Enchantress Great Sage, the Omnipotent Great Sage, the Golden Rock Great Sage, and the other great demons all remained silent at the same time, sitting and watching the Taishu Temple head towards the Violet Mist Sea. After the battle with Lin Feng, the Yuan Dragon King's strange silence made these great demons have many speculations. Now that the Taishu Temple was going to investigate the Dragon Clan, they were more than happy to do so. Naturally, they opened their doors wide. In the end, the Purple Sea Dragon King, who had received the news, did not hesitate to lead his clan to abandon the Purple Haze Sea and retreat into the Black Sea. The fact that the other party had fled at the sight of them seemed impressive, but no one from Taishu Temple was happy at all. The demons of Boundless Mainland were even cursing. This meant that the worst-case scenario was very likely to come true, and the Yuan Dragon King had really successfully passed through the intermediate tribulation. If he was only preparing to go through the ordeal, he could endure the humiliation he suffered from Lin Feng. However, he could not endure the humiliation of being attacked by Taishu Temple at his doorstep. He would definitely give up his original plan and come out to fight with Taishu Temple. Of course, it was also possible that the Yuan Dragon King was not around, just like how Lin Feng and the people from Taishu Temple had entered the spiritual sea previously and could not rush back in time. Perhaps he had tried to go through the intermediate tribulation and died directly, but the Dragon Clan had concealed the news. Or perhaps he had not tried to go through the tribulation at all and had been seriously injured for some unknown reason. These were all possibilities. In order to verify this, after an urgent discussion, Daoi Lord and Shoichi Dashin joined forces and approached the realm passageway leading to the Black Sea. The pride of the Dragon Clan prevented them from using the strategy of showing weakness to the enemy and luring them in before cutting off their retreat. Retreating to the Purple Haze Sea had already made them feel extremely humiliated. Therefore, when Daoi Lord and Shoichi Dashin approached the Black Sea, the Dragon Clan could not bear it anymore. The power of the Black Sea was activated, and they immediately attacked the two big shots from Taishu Temple. Because they were only at the entrance of the Black Sea, Daoi Lord and Shoichi Dashin retreated in time, but the result of their test made their hearts even heavier. After experiencing the strength of the suppression of the Black Sea this time, Daoi Lord and Shoichi Dashin could immediately confirm that the Dragon Clan that was controlling the Black Sea was not the Kunlun Dragon King, who had been severely injured by Lin Feng previously, but the stronger Yuan Dragon King. Moreover, when the Black Sea surged this time, there was a faint wail of the Great Way in the Black Sea. Such a reaction was definitely not caused by a great demon in the Dharma-ending realm. It must have been caused by a great demon whose cultivation was above the Dharma-ending realm. As expected, the Yuan Dragon King had successfully gone through the intermediate tribulation, but he should still be in the recuperation stage. Therefore, the level of power of the Black Sea surging this time was not much different from the past. After leaving the Black Sea, Daoi Lord, Shoichi Dashin, and the other big shots from Taishu Temple looked at each other and fell silent. Although the Yuan Dragon King had not completely recovered, if he was really forced to fight with his life at a critical moment, the strength he could display would still be stronger than before. Even the Kunlun Dragon King, who had been seriously injured by Lin Feng before, did not make a move this time, but if he was really needed, he would definitely suppress his injuries and fight. Today, when the Haotian Mirror had not been restored, even Daoi Lord and the others found it difficult to attack the Black Sea by force. If they really fought the dragon clan to the death now, the situation was very likely to be completely out of control. Indeed, the other great demons were now watching from the sidelines, warmly welcoming the Taishu temple to help them find out the strength of the dragon clan. If the two sides really fought, they would only be happier. But if a large-scale battle really started, they would definitely not stand by and watch. For example, the Enchantress, the Great Sage, the Golden Rock Great Sage, and the other great demons were all masters who were unwilling to be inferior to others. Since the Yuan Dragon King had successfully survived the calamity, they were naturally not happy to see it. They also did not want either the Dragon Clan or the Taishu Temple to win completely. Only if both sides were injured, or if the winner won by a Pyrrhic margin, would the great demons be happy to see this. However, unlike the previous battles between Lin Feng and the Kunlun Dragon King, Golden Cicada, the White Tiger Great Sage, and other great demons, Lin Feng had always held back, so the battle did not escalate. If the Taishu Temple attacked the Black Sea by force, it would definitely be a full-scale battle. Not only would the demon realm pay attention, but the divine land would also definitely pay attention. The great demons wanted to take advantage of the situation, so there was no difference between attacking midway and entering the battlefield when the dust had settled, because there would always be competitors, and the various forces of the human clan were also paying attention to this battle. Therefore, under such circumstances, the final outcome would most likely be a full-scale war between the two realms. Of course, the Enchantress and the others definitely hoped that the Taishu Temple would attack the Black Sea right now. The earlier the war broke out, the better. Although the great demons were not ready yet, it was still better than watching the Yuan Dragon King recover to his peak state. Today, it was not the humans who stopped the Yuan Dragon King. Tomorrow, it would most likely be their turn to face the pressure of the Yuan Dragon King. However, to the Taishu Temple, although the Yuan Dragon King was currently at his weakest, the Dragon Clan was also at their weakest in recent years when the Kunlun Dragon King was injured. As time dragged on, the Yuan Dragon King would gradually return to his peak state, and the Kunlun Dragon King would also gradually recover. The strength of the Dragon Clan would become even stronger. However, at this point in time, the Haotian mirror had not yet recovered. In this rare situation where the Dragon Clan was enduring humiliation and defending the Black Sea with their lives, it would not be easy to break through the Black Sea. Although Lin Feng had killed many great demons, the overall strength of the demon clan could not be underestimated. This was especially so when the Phoenix clan and the Divine Wudong Tree clan were likely to participate in the war. In the morals of these two clans, initiating an all-out war at this time was a standard example of taking advantage of the Dragon Clan. Although they often disagreed, the Phoenix clan and the Divine Wudong Tree clan had friendly relations with the Dragon Clan after all. Based on the premise of this relationship, if the development of the situation completely went against their ideals, it was very likely that they would help the Dragon Clan. Even if Lin Feng had a good relationship with them, they would at most not fight with Xianmen Tianzong after the war started. However, when it came to the Taishu Temple and other human forces, they would fight as they should. Senior Brother Tai Yi. Shoichi Dashin turned to look at Tai Yi Dao Lord. Tai Yi Dao Lord closed his eyes and looked a little solemn. Let's talk when we get back. The departure of the Taishu Temple naturally disappointed the Enchantress and the other demons. After returning to White Cloud Mountain, Tai Yi Dao Lord tapped the Haotian mirror and once again summoned all the upper echelons of the Taishu Temple. Since the Battle of Mount Shu, such a frequent summons in such a short period of time was enough to show the seriousness of the situation. Quang Heng and the other members of the Supreme Elders Council were aware of this, and none of them were absent. Those who could not personally attend also sent their spiritual projections. After everyone arrived, Shoichi Dashin immediately asked, Senior Brother Tai Yi, how long will it take for Tenryu Gen to recover to his peak state? Tai Yi Dao Lord said slowly, after all, we fought through the mysterious sea and did not officially come into contact with him. Therefore, I can only give a rough estimate of about 20 years. Tai Yi Dao Lord was talking about the time of the colossal world. The collapse of the great Tao would ignore the changes in time and space, and the time of the person going through the tribulation would be completely consistent with the colossal world. In other words, the person going through the tribulation would not be able to use the grotto heaven that accelerated time. Taking the Yuan Dragon King as an example, if he needed 20 years to recover from now, even if he found a grotto heaven that accelerated time by 10,000 times and stayed there for 10,000 years, he would still have to endure another 19 years in the colossal world after coming out of the grotto heaven. As for the time needed for different people to recover, it would be different from person to person. After hearing Tai Yi Dao Lord's answer, Shoichi Dashin fell silent. Kai Fengzhou muttered to himself, 20 years is not enough. He turned to look at Yan Nanlai, who nodded. It is indeed not enough. Xianlin Taoist said silently, attacking the mysterious sea is indeed not enough, but if the Yuan Dragon King comes out of the mysterious sea, it will be a completely different situation. Even if he returns to his peak state, it will still be the same. The real worry is... Yun Yuanjin sighed and continued, the real worry is that if the Yuan Dragon King is willing to calm down and not rush out of the mountain, recuperate and continue to experience the collapse of the Great Tao a second time, a third time, or even more times. Fu Yunkong frowned. He will not be given so many chances. In less than 100 years in the colossal world, the Haotian mirror will definitely be able to recover to its peak state. Dao Lord Yu Yuan's gaze was cold. Slowly, he said, that is when the Haotian mirror has been recuperating in peace. She looked around. And the current divine land is not peaceful. Chapter 967. The master of the celestial gate is unpredictable, and the king of the underworld has also returned to the world. The situation in the divine land is also very chaotic. Everyone present understood what Dao Master Yu Yuan was talking about. Dao Master Qing Ning looked at Dao Master Qing Yi and said, Martial Uncle Qing Yi, although you said that the master of the celestial gate could refine the sword, we didn't know about Tenryu Gen at that time. Now that the situation is special, I think it's a good time for the master of the celestial gate to unseal the sword, Dao Master Qing Ning said slowly. The master of the celestial gate is very scheming, and we never expect him to fight to the death with the Yuan Dragon King. We only hope that he can delay him. Xianlin Taoist shook his head and said, he won't enter the Xian Sea on his own. As for the Dragon Clan, before the Yuan Dragon King completely recovers, he won't leave the Xian Sea on his own. Yun Yuanjin said calmly, otherwise, the hatred between the two sides is so deep that it's hard to resolve. If the conflict intensifies, there will definitely be a conflict. Although the master of the celestial sect of wonders is scheming, he is not one to be taken advantage of. He went to the vast land of infinite wilderness this time because his disciples were kidnapped by Golden Cicada. By the same logic, if his disciples were lost in the mysterious sea, he would definitely go there. Yun Yuanjin closed his eyes slightly and said softly with a smile, and for the Dragon Clan, they will definitely be happy to capture and kill his disciples. Kai Fengzhou looked at Yun Yuanjin and frowned slightly. Junior sister Yun Yuanjin looked at him and nodded. She said seriously, unlike the Haotian mirror, his sword has the intent to destroy the world and the Tao. If it really goes one step further, the master of the celestial gate may not be able to control it himself. It's just right to use it now. Wu Mengqi asked lightly, who is the target? Dao Lord Yu Yuan said, Wang Lin or Shi Tianhao. It's best if it's Wang Lin, but Shi Tianhao is more active in Tianhuang mainland. Fu Yunkong, Kai Fengzhou, and Lin Daohan all furrowed their brows in silence. Dao Master Qing Yi looked at Dao Master Tai Chi, Yan Nanlai, Shoichi Dashin, and Dao Master Xian Yi. We can discuss the specifics later. Tenryu Gen's midlife tribulation came too suddenly. I believe that our temple needs to formally enter the preparation stage for the war between the two worlds. Given the current situation in the Divine Land, I believe that Xianmen Tianzong should be listed as an unstable force. Shoichi Dashin said calmly, I agree. Kuang Heng, Xianlin Taoist, and Wu Mengqi nodded in unison. Agreed. Yun Yuanjin, Dao Lord Qingning, and Dao Lord Yu Yuan also said, we agree. Fu Yunkong frowned slightly. Although the master of the Celestial Gate's trip to Tianhuang mainland was to find Golden Cicada, he did not show any mercy. He captured and killed a group of demons. Moreover, it seems like he will not stay out of the war once it breaks out. Xianmen Tianzong's strength can play a great role in the war between the two worlds. It's enough to list them as an unstable force, but it could easily lead to unexpected changes. I'm afraid it will be detrimental to the war between the two worlds. Although the person he was facing was his uncle master, Fu Yunkong still raised his doubts. Dao Master Qing Yi did not mind at all and said calmly, "Yunkong, the master of the Celestial Gate's thoughts are much deeper than you expected. In fact, Xianmen Tianzong is an unstable factor." Hearing that, Fu Yunkong fell into deep thought. Then, he heard a voice. "I agree with Uncle Master Qing Yi's suggestion." Fu Yunkong looked over in shock. The person who spoke was Yan Nanlai. Then, Dao Master Qing Yi's old and calm voice sounded. "I agree as well." Hearing that, not only Fu Yunkong, but even Kuang Heng, Xianlin Taoist, Dao Master Yu Yuan, Kai Fengzhou, Yun Yuanzhen, and Lin Daohan were also stunned. Only Dao Master Qing Yi, Shouichi Dashin, Dao Master Xian Yi, and Yan Nanlai looked normal, as if they were not surprised. Dao Master Qing Yi closed his eyes and looked at everyone calmly. Then, he said slowly, "That ominous sword is actually only secondary. What caught my attention was that the master of the Celestial Gate's trip to Tianhuang mainland this time showed a treasure and a mystic art. Needless to say, that treasure is the seal that separated Tianlong and Kuan's souls." Everyone present nodded. They had also received the news. The seal had moved them even more than the 33 Heavens Fortune Immortal Pill and Xianmen Tianzong's Dao, mystic art, and mystic art. Even a great demon in the Dharma-ending realm could be controlled. Although it was not a long time, it was enough for experts of their level to do a lot of things. Lin Feng's Heaven Interception Seal was simply the bane of the demon race. Xianlin Taoist murmured, "That seal." Lord Tai waved his hand and said, "We'll discuss this matter later." Another thing that caught my attention was that when the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders fought with the inner ape of 10,000 laws, and when he fought with Tian Long Kuan and Golden Cicada, he used a magical technique that seemed to be able to close the split heaven and earth. His Dragon Clan clone can also use this mystic art. Dao Master Qing Yi's expression became more serious. Moreover, his original body and the Dragon Clan clone used that mystic art together. I did not see it with my own eyes, but from what I know so far, this mystic art is a little strange. Indeed, there are some mystic arts that can be used by both the human race and the demon race, but the mystic art of the Celestial Gate's master made me feel something unusual. At this time, Yan Nanlai finished his master's unfinished words. In connection with the news that spread before, the master of the Celestial Gate suddenly abandoned his original Salo Iron Tree clone in the Ying Sea and turned to refine a pure demon race clone. This made us have some conjectures. At this point, everyone's faces revealed a thoughtful expression. Dao Master Qing Yi said indifferently, "The master of the Celestial Gate's thoughts are deeper and more ambitious than we previously thought. This is the same as his stubborn idea of refining that ominous sword in order to fight against the Haotian mirror. This way of doing things is too dangerous for our divine land. That's why I suggested that in the upcoming war between the two realms, Xianmen Tianzong be listed as an unstable force." Fu Yunkong fell into silence. After a long time, he nodded. "I agree with Martial Uncle Qing Yi's suggestion." Lin Daohan, who had been quietly listening at the side, said calmly, "The Haotian mirror has yet to fully recover, and the Yuan Dragon King is going through a tribulation. Under these circumstances, treating Xianmen Tianzong as an unstable force and throwing them into the war between the two realms will do more good than harm to our human race." Dao Master Xian Yi and Kai Fengzhou remained silent. They neither agreed nor disagreed. Generally speaking, this situation was equivalent to giving up, but from their perspective, it was equivalent to tacit agreement. After a long time, Kai Fengzhou said hesitantly, "Should we continue to observe?" Dao Master Qing Yi said, "No one can predict how the war will change. What will happen after the war is completely unknown. If there really is an uncontrollable change, I'm afraid it will be too late to remedy it. Silently, Yan Nanlai said, since Xianmen Tianzong is now listed as an unstable force, then the original unstable force, the descendants of the ancient emperor, can automatically be treated as a favorable force. Dao Master Yu Yuan said coldly, because of Xiao Yan, Xianmen Tianzong has become very close to the ancient immortals world. It is very likely that they will join forces. Yan Nanlai said, we just need to keep an eye on them. Speaking of which, it is precisely because of the rise of Xianmen Tianzong that the descendants of the ancient emperor have become less interested in them. Under this premise, it is reasonable to treat them as a force that will benefit the war between the two realms. However, we do need to prevent them from getting too close to Xianmen Tianzong. Since the beginning of the meeting, Dao Master Xian Yi, who had not spoken much, said, we can keep an eye on Xianmen Tianzong and the ancient immortals world. Since it is confirmed that a new war between the two realms is coming, we should first get rid of the forces that are already confirmed to be unfavorable. Yan Nanlai nodded. Yes, we should first deal with the King of the Underworld and the Underworld Hall. The King of the Underworld has been reborn, and it will take him a lot of effort to return to his former peak. Right now, he is at his weakest. Yun Yuanzhen's eyes flashed. Xianmen Tianzong, the King of the Underworld, and the Underworld Hall are also not on good terms. Wang Lin, the third disciple of the Master of the Celestial Gates, although he is currently only at the primordial spirit incarnation realm, it is very likely that the King of the Underworld will be in danger. His seventh disciple, Shi Tianhao, is also not on good terms with the King of the Underworld. There was news from the battlefield of the void that the Underworld Hall cultivators are searching for his parents and grandfather, Yan Nanlai said. Yan Nanlai said, this matter can be combined with the heavenly sect of Xianmen. In the process, we can also further observe the heavenly sect of Xianmen, so that we can accurately define the heavenly sect of Xianmen. Dao Master Qing Ning frowned. The King of the Underworld is now in hiding. On one hand, he is recovering his strength. On the other hand, he is watching the battle between us and Xianmen Tianzong. Even if there is hatred between him and Xianmen Tianzong, he will restrain himself. Dao Master Yu Yuan looked at Yan Nanlai. Temple Master, do you have a clue about the whereabouts of the King of the Underworld? Yan Nanlai nodded and did not say anything. His gaze fell on Wu Mengqi. A strange light flashed in Wu Mengqi's eyes. It actually reflected the thousands of calamities in the Netherworld Sea. He slowly said, there is a strange movement in the Netherworld Sea. It is very likely related to this. After a short pause, Wu Mengqi continued, this matter involves the ancient world of immortals, where the bloodline of the ancient emperor resides. On that day, the demons invaded Taihua and the divine prefecture attacked Jade Capital. At the same time, there was also a strange movement in the ancient world of immortals, where the bloodline of the ancient emperor resides. The Netherworld Sea cracked there. Xianlin Taoist pondered and said, in the Middle Era, we killed the Netherworld Taoist and obtained some information about the King of the Underworld. The whereabouts of his third disciple, the Netherworld Taoist, are unknown. Junior Brother Wu has always felt that there is someone else secretly communicating with the Netherworld Sea. We often suspect that it is that Netherworld Taoist. In the past, the ancient emperor and a senior ancestor of our temple deposed and overthrew the King of the Underworld. Based on the information we have, the ancient emperor seems to have some important things about the King of the Underworld. Although the ancient emperor later fell, the things were passed down in the hands of his descendants. However, this news has not been confirmed, so we do not know whether it is true or false. Moreover, we do not know what the specific things are. Now it seems that they are connected. Perhaps the changes in the ancient world of immortals are related to the King of the Underworld. This is a clue to find him. Chapter 968. Xianlin Taoist looked at Wu Mengqi. However, according to the news from the ancient immortal world, although the Netherworld Sea cracked, it quickly closed up again. Wu Mengqi said, that's right. Since then, it has calmed down again. Kuang Heng asked calmly, the Netherworld Sea naturally cracked in the southern wasteland of the Divine Land. I've never heard of the Netherworld Sea coming into contact with the ancient immortal world before. The crack in this dimensional world should also be man-made? Wu Mengqi smiled. Most likely. Quang Heng turned to look at Yun Yuanjun. That day in the Ying Ocean, Martial niece Mingyue saw it with her own eyes. The first disciple of the Daoist sect master, Shao Yan, wielded a huge sword that could open a crack in the Netherworld Sea. Yun Yuanjun nodded. That's right. However, it was very small and could only draw a small amount of power from the Netherworld Sea. Lord Xianlin said, according to the news from the ancient world of immortals, the size of the crack in the Nether Sea is very large. The descendants of the ancient emperor have to treat it seriously and use all of their power to seal it. After a short pause, he continued, if not for that, the descendants of the ancient emperor might have sent more powerful experts to support Xianmen Tianzong, and not just one return to Void Cultivator. Everyone nodded. Yan Nanlai said calmly, from the looks of it, the king of the underworld was just a diversion. His main goal was to retrieve the Book of Life and Death from Su Anda. Therefore, the item in the ancient immortal world should not have been in his hands yet. If that's the case, he will definitely make a move again. It's just that the time is uncertain. Quang Heng said unhurriedly, if that's the case, we'll take the initiative to alert the enemy. The descendants of the ancient emperor might not know that the Netherworld Sea might be related to the king of the underworld when the ancient immortal world was attacked last time. We'll just inform them. The descendants of the ancient emperors know that the emperor of the Netherworld is related to the crack in the Netherworld Ocean in the ancient longevity world. Naturally, they will think of the emperor of the Netherworld's goal, which is to obtain something that the ancient emperors have left behind. If the emperor of the underworld wants to get the item back, the longer it takes, the more difficult it will be. If he takes the risk out of desperation, he will expose his whereabouts. If he continues to wait, he will be the one suffering losses. Yan Nanlai said calmly, that. Kai Fengzhou said, since the descendants of the ancient emperors of the ancient world of immortals have turned into a faction that benefits us, one of us should personally make a trip there. At the same time, we can also talk to the descendants of the ancient emperors. He looked at Yan Nanlai, Lord Tai, Lord Jingyi, Lord Qingyi, and Lord Xianwen. I'm willing to go to the ancient world of longevity. Thank you. He looked at Yan Nanlai, Lord Tai, Shoichi Dashin, Lord Qingyi, and Lord Xian. Should the reincarnation sect remove the nail that the king of the underworld left in the divine land? Yun Yuanjun shook his head. It's better to keep it for now. Even though we're beating the grass and alerting the snake, we should know when to stop. If we make too much of a commotion, the emperor of the underworld will definitely be alerted. If that happens, he will most likely completely give up on the ancient immortal world. Even though the king of the underworld will be the one at a disadvantage, it's best to make him expose his tracks and get rid of him. Lord Qingning said, as for Xianmen Tianzong, some things should be put on the agenda. Yan Nanlai said, there's no hurry. Let's solve the problem with the king of the underworld first. Uncle Master Xian Yi and senior brother Quang are going through their tribulations. Junior brother Wu also needs to rest. We won't disturb you again if there's nothing major like today. Yan Nanlai glanced at Lord Xian Yi, Quang Heng, and Wu Mengqi. Then, he looked at Lord Qingyi. Uncle Master Qingyi, please continue to guard the infinite wasteland. Lord Qingyi nodded. She was here as a projection of Dharma power. Her real body was still at Taihua Mountain in the infinite wasteland. Yan Nanlai's gaze fell on Xianlin Taoist and Lord Yuyuan. Taihua Mountain in the infinite wasteland has been destroyed. It'll be a long time before we can set up the array again. I'll have to trouble junior brother Xianlin and junior sister Yuyuan to help Uncle Master Qingyi. Xianlin Taoist and Lord Yuyuan nodded together. Yes, Temple Master. Finally, Yan Nanlai looked at Lin Daohan. Lin Daohan bowed. Don't worry, Master. I know what to do. After the meeting ended, the big shots of the Taishu Temple gradually dispersed. Only Lord Tai and Yan Nanlai were left at the top of White Cloud Mountain. Lord Tai's eyes were still closed and his expression was calm. Yan Nanlai's expression was also calm and indifferent. The master and disciple stood facing each other and did not speak for a long time. After a while, Yan Nanlai slowly said, "Master, I'm useless. I've let you down." Lord Tai smiled. "Nanlai, the world is full of changes. How can everything go as you wish? It's enough to be yourself." Yan Nanlai sighed. "I've embarrassed myself in front of you, Master. After the Battle of Mount Shu, I actually have many difficulties in my heart. Although the master of the celestial sect has a deep mind, he is still the first-generation hero of our human race. He might become a new pillar of support for our divine land. However, the strong rise of him and Xianmen Tianzong will cause Uncle Master Qing Yi and Uncle Master Zheng Yi to join forces to resist. Even Uncle Master Xian Yi and junior brother Kai will tacitly agree." Excluding Yan Nanlai, there were a total of 12 people in the Taishu Temple's Supreme Elders Council. Among them, Shoichi Dashin, Kuang Heng, Xianlin Taoist, Wu Mengqi, Lord Qing Yi, Lord Yun Yuanjin, Lord Qing Ning, and Lord Yu Yuan. There were already 8 people who were hostile to Xianmen Tianzong. Including Lord Xian Yi and Kai Fengzhou, there were a total of 10 people. They had an overwhelming advantage and could completely influence the decision of the Supreme Elders Council. Among the 4 elders of Taishu, Lord Qing Yi, Shoichi Dashin, and Lord Xian Yi had already reached a consensus. Under such circumstances, even if Yan Nanlai, as the temple master, and Lord Tai had different opinions, they could only reserve their opinions. Lord Tai smiled. "Nanlai, according to what you said, it should be me who disappointed you." If Lord Tai was at his peak, facing today's situation, although his words might not carry enormous weight, he could still control the situation. However, although Lord Tai was still the strongest person in the Taishu Temple, he could not be so domineering. However, Lord Tai was still very calm and still had the mood to tease his disciple. Yan Nanlai also smiled and shook his head. "Master, your words are embarrassing." Then, his smile gradually disappeared. "Although it doesn't affect the final policy of the temple, from the bottom of my heart, I would rather face that situation than this. It's fine for the master of Xianmen to be the master of the divine prefecture. It's fine for him to want to refine that sword, but the path he is walking on now is very likely to be a double-edged sword. If he is not careful, he will hurt himself and endanger the whole divine land." Yan Nanlai said solemnly, "We can't just sit back and watch." Lord Tai said indifferently, "It's still too early to say. For now, we will list Xianmen Tianzong as an unstable power. Continue to observe. If there's no doubt, we will list it as an unfavorable power." As he said that, Lord Tai frowned slightly, and his closed eyelids moved slightly. "But where is the Yuta clan now?" After a brief appearance in the Spirit Sea, there was no more movement. "Nanlai, I will have a chat with junior brother Zheng Yi later. I will let him make another trip to Endless Wasteland and search for the places where the Yuta clan used to live in the past. He will also look for clues about the Yuta clan. After junior brother Xuanyi recovers, focus on preparing for the next calamity. Junior sister Qingyi will guard Taihua Mountain, and I will guard White Cloud Mountain. I will be ready to head to Endless Wasteland to pick up junior brother Zheng Yi and junior sister Qingyi. If there are any concrete clues about the king of the underworld, I will leave it to you." Saying that, Lord Tai looked at Yan Nanlai and said slowly, "Do you want to go personally, or do you want Yun Kong, Yuanjin, and Yu Yuan to go? You decide." Yan Nanlai's expression didn't change. Silently, he said, "Although Star River Patriarch is my ancestor, don't worry, Master. I know what I'm doing. If the situation calls for me to come out, I will be responsible, but I won't ignore the public for personal reasons." Lord Tai nodded and closed his eyes. With his hands behind his back, he stood on the peak of White Cloud Mountain and looked into the distance. Another war between the two worlds is coming. Far to the west of White Cloud Mountain, in the Kunlun mountain range, Mount Yujing floated silently in the sky above the clouds. Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the peak of the mysterious sky treasure tree. He had already received the news from Endless Wasteland. Although the news was rough and not very accurate, Lin Feng could still make a rough guess. If there are no major accidents, there is at least an 80% chance that Tenryu Gen has successfully gone through the calamity. He is most likely in a weak state and is currently recuperating. If the Yuan Dragon King did not go through the calamity and was only preparing to go through it, Xylan Hai would not back down. If the Yuan Dragon King failed and died, or was severely injured, or was not in the mysterious sea, then the Kunlun Dragon King was also injured. Taishu Temple would most likely send the Haotian Mirror out to fight. The Yuan Dragon King was dead, the Kunlun Dragon King was severely injured, the Blue Sky Dragon King was severely injured, the Ancestral Crocodile Great Sage was killed, and Uao Dragon King was severely injured. Other than the dragons, Golden Cicada was half dead, White Tiger Great Sage was captured, and Xiang Lu Great Sage was killed. Under such circumstances, even if there was a slight chance of provoking the phoenix and the divine Wudong tree, it was already very close to the bottom line of Taishu Temple. But if the Yuan Dragon King went through the calamity, then the situation would be completely different. TSK, I wonder how long it will take for that old dragon to recover to his peak state. Lin Feng thought to himself, if he continues to go through the calamity and continues to improve his supernatural powers, then the situation will be even more delicate. However, if he wants to conquer other great demons, he'll need time. There's not much time left for him, unless he stays in the mysterious sea and doesn't come out. In that case, he can do whatever he wants. Lin Feng sat cross-legged, slightly raising his head, his eyes gazing at the empty space. The empty space slightly swayed, a half-black, half-white pillar of energy faintly appearing and disappearing. I wonder how long it will take for the Taishu Temple's Haotian Mirror to recover to its peak state. Chapter 969. Lin Feng looked at the void in the horizon calmly and thought to himself, to forge iron, one needs to be strong. Everyone is fighting for time. Other than the vast land of the Divine Continent and Heaven Wasteland, there's still the Yuta clan that's hiding in some dimensional world. He smiled slightly. Tenryu Gen won't be happy to see them again, right? What's more, if the Yuta clan really reappears, someone will be the first to be unlucky. After sorting out his thoughts, Lin Feng stood up and went down the mysterious sky treasure tree. He came to the outside of the depository of scriptures and stepped inside. He tapped lightly with his fingers, and 3 balls of light appeared in front of him. They were Golden Cicada's 3 Dharma clones, Unmoving Monk, Unvoid Success Monk, and Monk Baosheng. From them, Lin Feng had successfully squeezed out the Unmovable Rulai Sutra, Unvoid Success Monk, and Baosheng Rulai Sutra. After the Battle of Xian Eradication, Dao Venerable Liubo replaced the injured Monk Dade to take charge of the Heaven Realm, while Monk Dade stayed on Jade Capital Mountain to recuperate. Now that he received news from Lin Feng, he came to the depository of scriptures. Looking at the Unmovable Rulai Sutra, Unvoid Success Monk, and Baosheng Rulai Sutra placed together with the Immeasurable Light Rulai Sutra, his usually stable state of mind started to fluctuate. He put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. He looked at the sutra in a daze. I didn't expect Golden Cicada Great Sage to have obtained such a complete Dharma orthodoxy of Buddhism and to have cultivated it so well. Lin Feng's expression was calm. He smiled and didn't say anything. Monk Dade put his palms together and bowed to Lin Feng. Sect Master's merit is immeasurable. I'm very grateful. Lin Feng shook his head. Master, you don't have to be so polite. In the following days, stay on the mountain and study Dharma patiently. Fellow Taoist Liubo will take care of the Heaven Realm. After the 2 poles of the peak recover, he will also go to take charge. You don't have to worry. Zen Master Dade put his palms together and bowed again. Lin Feng nodded and walked to the side. Wherever he looked, Taoist scriptures entered his eyes. From Tsungtian Dao Jian and Xiaodongtian's Heavenly Gate Taoist techniques, from Zhang Enrui and some of the Reincarnation sect's Heavenly Tao elders, from Su Anda's King of the Underworld Taoist orthodoxy, apart from the Guanchong sword, the other 5 sword Taoist techniques from the 6 meridian swords of Mount Shu. Other than that, there were also incomplete Primordial Demon sect Dao techniques, Blood River Dao technique, Shadow Demon Dao technique, etc. The orthodoxies of the heavenly gates, the reincarnation sect, and the king of the underworld are also incomplete. If the same branch is incomplete, it can be made up, but if it's different, it can't be derived. Lin Feng silently calculated in his heart, after all, they are all large-scale orthodoxies. They are divided into different categories, forming a complete and huge system with detailed branches. However, Lin Feng didn't care much about this. He was now looking at these Taoist techniques for reference, absorbing the best parts of the Taoist techniques into his own Taoist technique system. It was of limited help in expanding the depth of the heavenly virtue scripture, but in expanding the breadth of it, there were some gains. The great Tao is as vast as the ocean. This world is boring, but it's also fascinating. The more ignorant one was, the more fearless they were. And the more things one knew, the higher one stood, and the more respect one would have for the unknown world. But this kind of respect was one of the driving forces that pushed Lin Feng forward. When Lin Feng left the scripture depository, he met his eldest disciple, Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan bowed and said, "Master, I have something to report. There's news from the ancient world of immortals. Someone from the Taishu temple has come to visit." Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded. The ancient world of immortals was the medium-class world where the descendants of the ancient emperors lived. They lived in seclusion and had always lived in the dark. They rarely came into contact with the vast thousand domains, but they were not as secretive as the underworld hall. It was normal for most people to not notice their existence, but it was impossible for the Taishu temple not to notice them. It was just that they had always been secretly observing them, and rarely had direct contact with them. The bigger the force, the more their ability in gathering intelligence and information could not be underestimated. This had nothing to do with whether they were hiding from the world or entering it. That kind of thinking of, "I don't need to know you, but you must know me," was quite domineering, but from a practical point of view, before reaching a certain level, it was better not to do so. To reach that level, the gap between one's own strength and that of the other forces must be large enough. It was not that one would be at the top, but that one was above the 9 heavens, and the others were all on the ground. Moreover, everything in the world was always changing and developing. The so-called difference between clouds and mud might not always remain the same. Xiao Yan said, "The specific content of the conversation is not clear, but it has something to do with the changes that happened in the ancient world of immortals. During the battle of exterminating Xian, because of Xiao Zhen, the ancient world of immortals did not just stand by and watch. Instead, like the Great Qin dynasty, Purple Cloud Path, and other forces, they extended a helping hand to Xianmen Tianzong. After that, Lin Feng was not stingy, and he also returned the favor. The relationship between the two sides was relatively warmer. However, at that time, the ancient world of immortals also had some internal changes. So, the forces that rushed to the divine land to help were slightly weak compared to the strength of the ancient world of immortals. Only Gu Peng and Xiao Zhen came. It was not that the ancient world of immortals did not care about it, but that the fire in their own backyard was really too big. Lin Feng and Xiao Yan did not take the initiative to ask, but Xiao Zhen, and Gu Peng still mentioned it vaguely. "Master, didn't you say that the Nether Sea is similar to the Mysterious Sea and the Ying Sea, and that its position is relatively stable? It is not like the Spirit Sea, the Empty Sea, and the Dead Sea." Xiao Yan was a little confused. He took out his evil radiant overlord sword and flicked the thick and wide body of the sword. Could it be that the crack in the Nether Sea was not naturally formed, but caused by someone? The other party is like me, using a technique or treasure similar to the evil radiant overlord sword to temporarily open a crack and receive the power of the Nether Sea? Lin Feng nodded. That should be the case. Just like Tian Long Kun who retreated in the vast heaven continent, he let the mysterious sea guide him to retreat. Xiao Yan grinned. But to be able to make Zhen's family unable to do anything, this crack is much bigger than the one I created with the evil radiant overlord sword. With regards to the ancient world of immortals and the descendants of the ancient emperor, Xiao Yan more or less knew some things from Xiao Zhen. The current leader of the descendants of the ancient emperor, in their words, was the new ancient emperor, Xiao Zhen's father. Currently, he was in the first tribulation. Although he had not completely completed the first tribulation, he was not far from it. His magical powers were also extraordinary, and he knew the essence of the ancient emperor's Tao. Although the ancient emperor's ending was not good, his descendants obtained the complete inheritance of the primordial Tao of longevity. After so many years, they kept the best and new. Therefore, the descendants of the ancient emperor in the ancient world of immortals, after a long period of hiding and biding their time, had gradually recovered. The only regret was that an ancestor of the Gu family, an expert in the Dharma-ending realm, tried to go through the tribulation, but failed in the end and died. Otherwise, the ancient world of immortals would be even more prosperous. Of course, if that expert succeeded in going through the tribulation, the current thinking of the Gu family might be different. Lin Feng took the evil radiant overlord sword from Xiao Yan. His fingers gently slid across the broad and heavy blade, and the strange feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger. This feeling did not exist when Xiao Yan first opened the crack in the netherworld sea with the evil radiant overlord sword after he formed his nascent soul. But today, when Xiao Yan proved his primordial soul, a strange feeling became stronger and stronger. Lin Feng pondered for a moment, and his magical power and divine sense covered Xiao Yan, entering deep into his primordial soul. Xiao Yan did not resist at all, and opened his own divine sense, allowing Lin Feng to explore. After a long while, Lin Feng retracted his magical power and divine sense, and pondered for a moment before asking, Xiao Yan, do you still remember the situation when you first encountered this evil radiant overlord sword? Xiao Yan was stunned when he heard this, but with his current spiritual cultivation, his memory of the past was extremely clear. It was just that the things that he could not use were buried together, and he could not remember them normally. When there was a need, he just needed to think about it a little, and it would be clear. I remember. It was not long after I had become Master's disciple. Once, I was strolling in the market of a city with second junior brother and little junior brother. Hee, it's funny. At that time, we were just looking around. We could not afford the things that we liked, and we could not afford the things that we could. Xiao Yan revealed a nostalgic look. Later, I accidentally saw this big guy in a shop. At that time, I felt that this thing had some kind of connection with me, so even though I could not see through it at that time, I still bought it. He laughed. At that time, I even borrowed money from second junior brother and little junior brother. The three of us spent all our belongings on it to buy it. Lin Feng could not help but smile. It was hard for you at that time. Xiao Yan chuckled, but he quickly restrained his smile and looked at Lin Feng seriously. Master, did you discover something? Lin Feng nodded. Before your primordial soul, there was not the slightest trace, but after you reached the primordial soul realm, there were finally some clues. As he spoke, his finger gently touched the space between Xiao Yan's eyebrows. Xiao Yan's whole body shook, and his eyes flashed with flowing lights. After a long time, Xiao Yan's eyes calmed down. He looked over and saw Lin Feng looking at him with a smile. Xiao Yan took the evil radiant overlord sword from Lin Feng again and flicked the blade with his finger. Master, who do you think is the person who opened the crack of the netherworld sea in the ancient longevity world? Lin Feng said, right now, we cannot be completely sure, but the people of Taishu Temple may have already obtained this clue. They sent people to the ancient longevity world, on one hand, to contact Miss Zhen's family, and on the other hand, to provide relevant clues to the ancient longevity world. After all, their Taishu Temple has a person who can open the crack of the netherworld sea on a large scale. Not long ago, because of the pressure from a group of great demons, she was forced to guide the power of the netherworld sea to flood their stronghold in the infinite wasteland, Taihua Mountain. Xiao Yan smacked his lips. Unfortunately, Zhen is in seclusion, or we might be able to get more information. Oh? Lin Feng asked, is she in normal seclusion, or is she trying to break through to the primordial soul realm? Xiao Yan's expression became serious. Zhen is trying to break through to the primordial soul realm. There was no danger in breaking through to the primordial soul realm as long as nothing went wrong, but the difficulty was high. Even with Xiao Zhen's talent, it was not an easy thing. Lin Feng was slightly surprised, earlier than expected. Chapter 970. Before, Xiao Zhen, and her uncle Gu Peng went to help Yujing Mountain, and Lin Feng saw her after the battle. Even though it was just a short conversation, he had a rough idea of her cultivation level. According to his estimation, it wasn't impossible for Xiao Zhen, to break through to Yuan divinity soon, but she didn't have enough experience, so her chances of success were limited. Lin Feng thought for a bit and suddenly started laughing, looking at Xiao Yan and asking, "Did you give her that moon-cold moonlight ruler of yours?" Xiao Yan smiled embarrassedly, then quickly cupped his hands at Lin Feng. "Master, I don't like that treasure at all, so I gave it to Zhen, but she insisted on not accepting it. After communicating with the treasure spirit of the primordial thunder jade, she gave it to me. The desolate Yin thunder that the desolate thunder of the desolate thunder Ju gave birth to, even though it is Yin thunder, it also has its own unique aspects. Xiao Yan obtained it, the thunder and fire fused together, increasing its power. The desolate thunder Ju itself also had a few new auras. The magic treasure's original spirit was rather happy. For the moon ruler's treasure spirit, following Xiao Yan was torture, as if it was being tortured all the time. On the other hand, Xiao Zhen's primordial longevity mantra was different from the moon ruler's power, but it had a different nourishing effect. On the other hand, Xiao Zhen carefully studied the moon ruler's power, and it also had a similar effect. Lin Feng shook his head and laughed. "You two are exchanging tokens of love. But your tokens are really not low level, two treasures for exchange." Xiao Yan laughed, his eyes full of happiness. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched a bit, suddenly having a feeling of wanting to laugh. Speaking of which, the two magic treasures that Xiao Yan gifted Xiao Zhen, the ancient emperor's blade and moonlight ruler, traced back to their origins. They were both sponsored by Marquis Jing Huan. This really was like the old saying, when the one is short of money, he will go to his enemy and give him warmth. Those who dared to snatch a woman from the destined one were actually here to give him a congratulatory gift. He could extort a lot of money from them and sponsor the destined one to pick up girls. After pushing these messy thoughts out of his mind, Lin Feng began to ponder carefully. Miss Chener's attempt to break through to the nascent divinity realm is a little earlier than I expected. Currently, the Milky Way purple Zoysia pills are scarce. If we wait for the second batch of 33 days fortune immortal pills, I'm afraid it will take a long time, which won't save us much time. If we can't get a batch of galaxy purple Ganoderma pills in a short time, by the time the pills are concocted, Miss Shen might have already succeeded in breaking through to the nascent divinity realm. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan quickly said, "Master, I'm afraid." He was the one who concocted the 33 days fortune immortal pill, and he had taken it himself, so he naturally knew its effects. It was the most precious pill in Xianmen Tianzong at the moment. Although Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, Luo Qingguo, and the others didn't need it for the time being, even the direct disciples couldn't get one each. Miao Shihao, Kang Nanhua, Jiayu, and the others were all at the late Yuanying or late Demon King level, so the people in the sect couldn't get a share of them. There was no need to mention the relationship between Xiao Yan and Xiao Zhen, but they weren't married yet. In terms of ownership, Xiao Zhen, couldn't be considered as an official member of Xianmen Tianzong. Therefore, it was not appropriate for Xiao Yan to provide her with the rare pills in private. In fact, when they thanked the ancient longevity world for their help in the Xian extermination battle, Lin Feng and Xiao Yan had planned to give the pills as a token of appreciation. After all, Xiao Zhen had reached the late Yuanying level for a long time, and there would be a time when it would be useful. But after Xiao Zhen learned about the preciousness of the 33 days fortune immortal pill, she insisted on not accepting it. At that time, Lin Feng thought that she was still some distance away from the primordial spirit realm, so he didn't insist. But now, the situation was obviously different. Lin Feng looked at Xiao Yan, who wanted to say something, and waved his hand. "It's okay. The 2 pills left before were just spares. Take them according to the situation. Xiao Yan, go find your 4th junior sister and give the 33 days fortune immortal pill to Miss Shen. Xiao Yan's lips moved, and he bowed to Lin Feng. Thank you, master. Lin Feng let him go find Yu Hongyan. If it were other disciples, such behavior might make the person who asked for the pills unhappy. In order to reduce the conflict, Lin Feng, as the master, had to take the blame and take back the pills in the name of the sect and himself. But although the disciples under Lin Feng had different personalities, they were very close to each other, so they didn't need to care about these things. When Xiao Yan arrived at Snowy Wind Valley, he was a bit embarrassed and apologetic, but he directly and generously explained the purpose of his visit. Without saying anything, Yu Hongyan immediately gave the 33 days fortune immortal pill to Xiao Yan, and even made fun of Xiao Yan. At this time, Yang Qing came to visit, and after understanding the situation, she also congratulated Xiao Yan. Ever since the big change, Yang Qing, who rarely had a happy expression on her face, smiled. It was like a spring breeze, and for a moment, the gentle young man who always had a warm smile on his face seemed to have returned. If it was only Yu Hongyan, Xiao Yan would have laughed, but facing Yang Qing, he only smiled and thanked her. He didn't talk much about himself and Xiao Zhen, so as not to touch his junior brother's sadness. Yang Qing was happy for him, so he was naturally grateful, but he also had to take Yang Qing's feelings into consideration. Being separated from his lover Fang Ting was the biggest pain in his fifth junior brother's heart. The reason why Lin Feng asked him to come to Yu Hongyan to get the pill, and not to Yang Qing, was also because of this consideration. However, if Xiao Yan went to the ancient longevity world this time, with his current identity, sneaking in silently and leaving after delivering the medicinal pills, that would instead be an extremely rude performance. It could even be seen as filled with enmity and harboring unfathomable intentions. If he went, then it would be the eldest disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, Xianyan Lord Xiao Yan, officially visiting the ancient longevity world's ancient emperor's bloodline. But Lin Feng stopped Xiao Yan, shook his head and said, Taishu Temple just sent someone to visit, and you also came to visit. This will make the matter between you and Lady Zhen have the political meaning of a marriage. Xiao Yan's etiquette was thorough. If he officially visited the ancient longevity world, even if he didn't talk about any official business, it would still be seen as an exchange between Xianmen Tianzong and the ancient longevity world. This was decided by his identity as the eldest disciple of Xianmen Tianzong. Giving the pill instead became a matter in passing. But in that case, the nature of the matter would naturally change completely. If it was Zhu Yi, Wang Lin and the others going, or if it was Lin Feng himself who directly communicated with the ancient longevity world through the sound transmission crystal, it would be the same. Unless it was not giving the pill, or if it was a serious discussion, then it would definitely be a different story. In the future, if the two of you really get together, there will still be people who have this kind of idea, and it will not be a small number. This is something unavoidable. Your family background and sect background have determined this. There is no need to care about what outsiders think. I have seen you two childhood sweethearts, watched you two walk all the way to where you are today, and naturally know your feelings for each other. But if Lady Zhen's parents and clan misunderstand you, then it would be unfair to you and Lady Zhen. Back then, when Lin Feng had just risen to power, at the Desolate Sea Assembly, the great Qin dynasty's prince of Anliang, Shi Zongyue, had asked for Yu Hongyan's hand in marriage for his grandson, Shi Shaogan. Lin Feng didn't even consider it and refused, saying that everything was up to Yu Hongyan to decide. Even now, Shi Zongyue naturally didn't mention this matter, treating it as if it had never happened. And now, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't consider the issue of marriage. Regardless of whether it was a marriage or a marriage, everything was up to the disciples themselves to decide. He was only responsible for keeping an eye on them, putting an end to those who obviously harbored ill intentions and had ulterior motives. However, in recent years, there were still many people who made indirect inquiries. Their targets weren't just Yu Hongyan. After Luo Qinggu came of age, there were also people who made inquiries. Even the second-generation disciples, such as Dao Yuding, Li Xingfei, and Zhuge Wanqiu, did the same. It didn't necessarily have to be a marriage, and the requests of ordinary Dao companions had never stopped. But in the grand scheme of things, they all had the intention of marriage, but in the end, they all ran into a wall. This was actually a common thing in the divine land. Apart from the special situation of the Great Thunderclap Temple in the past, the other major forces more or less had similar situations, especially in the ancient era of the human sovereign. It was even more common for the descendants of imperial dynasties and aristocratic families to have marriages. There were fewer marriages between sects and forces, and many disciples had marriages within themselves. However, it wasn't strange for them to have marriages with outsiders. Compared to marriage in the secular world, the political significance of a marriage in the cultivation world was actually more important. Of course, it was also more loose, and the symbolic significance was more important. Today, they would unite, and then fall out with each other was also a common thing. The simplest example was a very long time ago, before the rise of the Great Zhou dynasty. An ancestor of Liang Pan, the emperor of Zhou at that time, had asked to marry the daughter of the Qin. That was also the time when the relationship between the two sides was the most harmonious. Lin Feng understood this situation. It was just a strategic choice for his own development and communication with other forces. As for what other forces did, he didn't have any thoughts of criticizing them. It was just a normal choice. Lin Feng also didn't think of himself as a moral pacesetter. It was just that he himself wasn't interested in this kind of thing, so he chose not to consider this aspect. Therefore, it wasn't just his direct disciples. All the disciples of Xianmen Tianzong were the same. If the disciple was willing, and the other party was sincere, then everything was fine. If the disciple was not willing, then even if the other party was willing, there was no need to talk about it, even if the other party was willing to give him a dowry or a Haotian mirror as a betrothal gift. Lin Feng looked at Xiao Yan, and silently said, "Therefore, this time, you can't go personally. Let your direct disciples go on your behalf. Master will order Sha Luoxian to escort you." He was only a direct disciple, and his cultivation was at most in the Golden Elixir period. Naturally, he couldn't represent Xianmen Tianzong to discuss anything with the ancient immortals world. It was obvious that he was just giving something. Xiao Yan looked at Lin Feng, and didn't say anything for a long time. After a long while, he bowed deeply. "Master's care and concern, this disciple is deeply grateful. However, this time, when Taishu Temple sends people over, if we don't respond, we will inevitably fall behind." After many years of experience, although the current Xiao Yan was still bold and straightforward, it didn't mean that he didn't understand many things. Although sending pills was also a display of goodwill, the nature of it had completely become Xiao Yan's personal matter. The communication between Xianmen Tianzong and the ancient immortals world was definitely not something that a current second-generation disciple could represent and be responsible for. Especially after the people from Taishu Temple visited the ancient immortals world, if there were any changes in the thinking of the ancient clans, Xianmen Tianzong was also unable to immediately understand. Perhaps they had gradually accepted Xiao Yan, but as the head of a clan like Xiao Zhen's father, no matter how much he doted on Xiao Zhen, the majority of the time, when he made decisions, he still had to look at things from the perspective of the entire ancient immortals world. This was determined by his position. Chapter 971. At this moment, Xiao Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Back then, he really didn't think that giving the moon-cold ruler to Xiao Zhen would result in such an outcome, and even more so, he didn't think that Taishu Temple would suddenly pay a visit to the ancient immortals world. However, he was very clear that his future father-in-law doted on Xiao Zhen a lot. However, although that father-in-law loved his daughter, he also had to be responsible for many other people. If the demands of the two sides could be unified, then it would naturally be a happy ending, the best result. If they couldn't be unified, then they would try their best to seek common ground while reserving differences, balance, compromise, and adjust. If they completely opposed each other, then regrettably, they could only make a choice. For the majority of rational decision-makers, emotional factors were never the deciding factor. Yan Nanlai, Zhou Emperor Liang Pan, Qin Emperor Shi Yu, Xian Longsheng, and the others were all like this. But this time, Lin Feng was a little emotional. Xiao Yan took a deep breath and said silently, "Perhaps Zhen's parents won't be happy, but in the future, they can slowly change the situation. It's better for this disciple to personally make this trip. Lin Feng looked at him and suddenly laughed and shook his head. He did something that Xiao Yan rarely did after he became an adult. He lightly flicked his finger on his forehead and said, "It's fine. Go and arrange the people. Just let them set off as soon as possible." "Master." Xiao Yan raised his head and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng waved his hand and said, "Sometimes, we can also be a little willful. Don't worry and go." Looking at the slightly worried Xiao Yan, Lin Feng smiled slightly and said, "Although the ancient race has already begun to adjust their position, as for re-entering the divine land, we will most likely have to wait until the next war between the two worlds to make a final decision. It's fine to be half a step behind now." Xiao Yan held the porcelain bottle that contained the 33 Heavens Fortune Immortal Pills in his hand, and said in a low voice, "With Sha Luoxian accompanying us, there shouldn't be any accidents along the way, but once we reach the ancient immortal world, will there be?" Lin Feng shook his head slightly. The 33 Heavens Fortune Celestial Pill is only effective for people who have yet to reach the nascent divinity realm. Lady Zhen is the most suitable person for now. Moreover, in the ancient immortals world, no one would steal her things. As for the Taishu temple, just like what I said before, the Gu clan will not make a decision so quickly. Lin Feng had expected that the 33 Heavens Fortune Immortal Pill would be coveted by others, but what was more important was the pill recipe. Since ancient times, no one had been able to reverse engineer a pill recipe from a pill. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many precious pill recipes lost. Lin Feng had always thought the same thing. The greatest value of his heavenly gold pavilion, as well as its most heaven-defying function, lay in this point. The powerful auxiliary pill refining ability was secondary. Therefore, even if the Gu clan unexpectedly chose a side in advance, and even intercepted the 33 Heavens Fortune Immortal Pill and handed it over to the Taishu Temple, they would at most create another nascent divinity incarnation realm expert. Dao Venerate Qing Ning was the Divine Prefecture's #1 pill refining divine hand. Lin Feng had naturally heard of him, but he didn't think that he could reverse engineer a pill recipe from a pill. Lin Feng had never been one to speak too confidently, but if Dao Venerate Qing Ning really had that ability, he would have long recovered the lost and precious pill recipes of his Taishu temple. However, if Miss Shen succeeds in breaking through to the nascent divinity incarnation realm, you two won't be able to see each other for some time, Lin Feng said with a smile. Xiao Yan nodded in understanding. Xiao Zhen had previously mentioned to him that in the ancient emperor's orthodoxy, after forming a nascent divinity incarnation, it was best to continue cultivating in seclusion. If one succeeded in cultivating, their strength would greatly increase, and there would be many benefits in the future. Of course, there was no harm in not doing it, but if one missed the timing of forming a nascent divinity incarnation, there would be no effect. It was inevitable that they would miss the opportunity. For example, Gu Peng, who had accompanied Xiao Zhen to help Xianmen Tianzong, had missed this opportunity back then. Otherwise, when he had helped Xiao Yan block the Mount Shu sword sect's sword Venerate Little Shang, his strength would have most likely surpassed Venerate Little Shang's, and not tied. Although he missed her, Xiao Yan naturally hoped that Xiao Zhen could reach a higher level. In the end, he listened to Lin Feng's suggestion and returned to Fentianya to make preparations. Hearing that she could go to the ancient longevity realm, little Lin Tong naturally raised both her hands, hoping that Xiao Yan would choose her to deliver the elixirs. However, after Xiao Yan thought for a while, he still comforted Xiao Tong to stay on the mountain. The Tenryu Gen's mid-tribulation would have far-reaching effects. It was better for little Lin Tong not to go out in the near future, in case she was targeted by people with ulterior motives. After sending off his unhappy goddaughter, Xiao Yan sat cross-legged in Fentianya's quiet room. After a while, a valiant youth came in front of him. This youth was dressed in a purple robe of Xianmen Tianzong's style. The front of the robe was embroidered with a Tai Chi pattern, and the cuffs had a flying flame symbol. It was the symbol of Xianmen Tianzong's Fentianya. This person's figure was tall and straight. His expression was calm and steady, but his gaze was sharp and firm, giving people a feeling of unyielding tenacity. Xiao Yan took out the 33 days fortune celestial pill, and after explaining the situation, he said, Tiansong, you are Master's head disciple, go on this trip on behalf of Master. The youth was Tang Jun, who entered the sect during the third opening ceremony. Although he was already at the early stage of foundation building when he entered the sect, he had been diligently studying and training all these years, advancing at lightning speed, becoming one of the first batch of second-generation disciples to form the golden elixir. He was even faster than Huang Zhenting, Zhuge Wanqiu, Zhao Huan, Sun Shuer, Yan Wuwei, Ku Jing, and the others who had entered the sect earlier. He was resolute and unyielding, acting only after he had made up his mind, but he did not lose his drive. He was friendly to his fellow disciples, and his style towards outsiders was unyielding. Although he entered the sect late, he had the demeanor of a leader. Long ago, he had been appointed by Xiao Yan as Fan Tianya's head disciple. Not only did Tang Jun's cultivation speed increase, he was also the top talent among the second-generation disciples in terms of actual combat. In the past 2 years, when he went out to train, he had already made quite a name for himself. In the eyes of other forces, he was another rising star of Xianmen Tianzong, a stunning genius. As for matters like marriage, Xiao Yan naturally would not mention much to his disciple. He only said that he had matters to attend to, so Tang Jun would be the one to send things to the ancient immortals world. Tang Jun nodded. Don't worry, Master. I will definitely take care of this matter. He paused for a moment, then said with a smile, if I meet true monarch Qingyi, do you have any words for me? True monarch Qingyi was Xiao Zhen's Taoist name after she formed her nascent soul. However, people like Lin Feng, Xiao Yan, and Shi Tianhao usually did not call her that. However, Tang Jun was a junior, so when he mentioned Xiao Zhen, he would address her respectfully by her Taoist name. His temperament was resolute and steady, but he did not stick to trifles. Xiao Yan also had the same temperament. The two of them were very close, just like how Lin Feng and Xiao Yan treated each other with respect. They would occasionally tease each other, but they were not so rigid and restrained. Xiao Yan scolded with a smile, brat, you're asking for a beating. If there really is something, I will say it myself. Why do I need you to bring a message? Tang Jun smiled, then immediately took his leave and prepared to set off. Xiao Yan waved at him. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Refine this thing and bring it with you. Xiao Yan pointed his finger, and a black robe fell in front of Tang Jun. Tang Jun took it and was slightly startled. Yuanying Realm Magic Tool. Master, when I formed my gold core, you already gave me the pure Yang Universe Mirror. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and the others had a tacit understanding. They all took the golden elixir period and Yuanying Realm magic tools bestowed by Lin Feng when they were in the foundation building and core formation stages as the symbols of their respective caves. For example, after Tang Jun was appointed as the first seat disciple when he was in the foundation building stage, he immediately received the golden elixir period magic tool Black Cloud Flag as his personal treasure. After he formed his gold core, he received the Yuanying Realm magic tool Universe Mirror. Yang Tai, the first seat disciple of Zhu Yi Palace of Qian Tian, now had the 7 Fiend dragon-slaying sword with him. After he formed his gold core, Zhu Yi would give him the Desolate Element 9 Refinements Divine Thunder Net. Huang Zhenting, the first seat disciple of Shi Tianhao Desolate Heaven Valley, was even richer. In addition to the incantation refining armor, he also received the Tiger Soul Golden Disc from Shi Tianhao. However, the Bronze Void Cauldron had been taken back by Lin Feng to plant trees a long time ago. At that time, however, Lin Feng specially gave Shi Tianhao a Yuanying Realm magic tool Huangting Sword Seal. After Shi Tianhao formed his gold core, he would receive this Yuanying Realm magic tool. Wang Lin's magnetic bipolar rings and Cloud Elephant Seal were destroyed in the Void battlefield. As his cultivation increased, Yuanying Realm magic tools became less useful. If there was a need, Wang Lin could casually refine some golden elixir period and Yuanying Realm magic tools. However, for the sake of inheritance, he specially asked Lin Feng to give him 2 more magic tools. Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, Luo Qingguo, and the others were in a similar situation. For example, after Yang Qing formed her nascent soul, she passed the emptiness-severing blade to Zhou Yunsong when she saved him. As for the devil-destroying vermilion silk, she had already given it to Zhou Yunsong when he was still in the foundation-building realm. Of course, magic tools like the Heaven and Earth Mirror, the Desolate Element 9 Refinements Divine Thunder Net, and the 7 Fiend Dragon-Slaying Sword were not made by Xianmen Tianzong. In fact, their power was not the best among the magic tools of the same level. Therefore, Xiao Yan and the others had specially used their own supernatural power to refine these magic tools. Now, all of them had been reborn. Some still retained their original names, and some even changed their names. For example, the Heaven and Earth Mirror was previously refined by Xiao Yan using the Pure Yang True Fire and renamed as the Pure Yang Heaven and Earth Mirror. After the Battle of Annihilation Xian, Xiao Yan obtained the Xitigarbha True Flame. After taking back the magic tool from Tang Jun, he refined it again into the Xitigarbha Pure Yang Mirror and gave it to them again. However, this kind of inheritance only stopped at magic tools. Because magic tools were easy to refine and easy to change between Dao, technique, and supernatural power, the magic tool inheritance still had to be established based on the Dao of each cave abode. It was not easy to inherit other magic tools. Even so, Tang Jun and the others had many other good things with them. Therefore, the head disciples of each cave abode in Xianmen Tianzong were quite rich. As for the other true disciples, the sect did not mistreat them. Xianmen Tianzong had always been generous to their own people. Although it was inferior to the true disciples, it was not too far off. Under the guidance of Lin Feng and the others, there were no bad signs. In particular, it was not easy to be a head disciple. The more good things you get, the more responsibilities you have to bear. It was so heavy that most of the other disciples trembled. Therefore, Tang Jun was a little surprised as he held the black robe in his hand. He did not need any reward for running an errand for his master. Even if there was a reward, it did not need to be so expensive. In terms of defensive capabilities, how could a nascent soul treasure compare to a Grand Ascension Stage treasure being personally escorted by a Grand Ascension Stage treasure? Chapter 972. Tang Jun held the black-robed Yuanying ritual implement in his hands. He was a little surprised, but fortunately, Xiao Yan did not want to keep him in suspense. He said straightforwardly, "After I prove my Tao and primordial soul, I will look for opportunities to open a mansion outside of Yujing Mountain. It is the same for your second martial uncle, third martial uncle, and youngest martial uncle. When your other martial uncles achieve primordial soul in the future, it will be the same. This is the rule set by the patriarch. It is still too early to say these things. If I want to open a mansion, I will also look for the top spirit mountain grotto heaven. This is not something that can be decided in a short period of time. You just need to know what to do now." Tang Jun nodded thoughtfully. He had already understood. If Xiao Yan opened a mansion, he, as the head disciple of Fentianya, would have to shoulder more responsibilities. Basically, if Xiao Yan went to a mansion, Tang Jun would definitely have to stay on Yujing Mountain. Fentianya would be the guard, or if Xiao Yan stayed on Yujing Mountain, Tang Jun would have to go to the mansion to help his master take care of things. The same principle also applied to Huang Zhenting and the others. Seeing that he understood his meaning, Xiao Yan nodded and said, "Your master and the other martial uncles will have to bear the burden on your shoulders. Naturally, we will also have to increase your strength. Therefore, we have decided to make a special ritual implement for the head disciple of the cave. Every generation of head disciple will have one, and the ritual implement will be the same, forming a regulation." Tang Jun nodded, indicating that he understood. He was the second generation head disciple, and there would be a third and fourth generation in the future. Xiao Yan pointed at the black robe and said, "This magical item is called the Pure Yang Daoist Robe. It is a Yuanying magical item refined with Pure Yang True Fire. The wearer will be able to control the true fire more easily. When the wearer is attacked by an enemy, it will automatically spew out Pure Yang True Fire. Not only can it be used for defense, but it can also burn the enemy and destroy evil. It is a combination of attack and defense. Apart from that, you will also receive a sun crown later. It is refined from the true fire of the sun and is also a Yuanying stage magic tool. It is mainly used for attacking. However, I still need to adjust this magic tool and try out some new ideas. I will give it to you after you return from this trip. Tang Jun knew that at Xiao Yan's level of cultivation, he would need to make adjustments before refining a magic tool, so this magic tool was even more worth looking forward to. As for the appearance of the milky white Taoist robe refined with pure Yang true fire, Tang Jun automatically ignored this question. He knew the reason when he saw the black robe draped over his master's purple robe. However, after thinking about it carefully, even Tang Jun, who had always been calm and composed, was a little shaken at this moment. He was only at the early stage of golden elixir. Including the sun crown that he had already reserved, he had a total of 3 Yuanying stage magic tools. Most of the Yuanying stage ancestors in the world did not have such wealth. He was really armed to the teeth. Xiao Yan swept a glance at him and asked with a smile that was not a smile, "Are you very happy?" Tang Jun looked at his master and nodded frankly, "Yes, master." Xiao Yan smiled and said, "You're honest, kid. Even when I was at the early stage of golden elixir, I didn't have such a rich family background." Speaking of this, Xiao Yan laughed and shook his head. Xianmen Tianzong's current wealth and resources were completely different from before. All kinds of hardware and software conditions were much better than when it was first established. However, relatively speaking, good steel should be used on the edge of the blade. It was still not enough to equip all the true disciples like how he had armed Tang Jun and the others. Just like what Master said, there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go. Xiao Yan sighed with a smile and then looked at Tang Jun silently. He said, "Don't be too happy. Whether it's the pure Yang Taoist robe or the sun crown, when it's in your hands, you have to put it to good use." Tang Jun's heart stirred slightly. The "put to good use" in Xiao Yan's words was clearly not referring to using it to good use in a fight. He thought for a while and said seriously, "Don't worry, master. I will work hard to cultivate and will not let you down. An ordinary man's wealth is his own ruin." The external environment was superior, and he had to work hard to improve himself. Experience, willpower, cultivation, temperament, all aspects must be improved. Otherwise, he would only give warmth to his opponents and become a fat sheep that others would target. Like adding wings to a tiger, like adding wings to a tiger. First, he was a tiger. Then, there was the problem of adding wings. Xiao Yan nodded with satisfaction. "It's good that you understand. Go and find Shaluo Xian, he will escort you to the ancient longevity world." Shaluo Xian escorted Tang Jun away from the mountain. Lin Feng did not pay much attention to it. His attention was on White Tiger Sage. Without Shaluo Xian to suppress him, Lin Feng had to do it himself. He could also ponder about the Star Ocean portal. White Tiger Sage had been seriously injured by him and had yet to recover. At this moment, he could only be at his mercy. This great demon was arrogant and cold. Now that he was in Lin Feng's hands, he did not say a word. He knew that resistance was useless, so he did not humiliate himself. However, it was clear that he would not submit to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at him calmly and said lightly, "I have no interest in torturing you. But let me make one thing clear in advance. I am determined to get that Star Ocean portal of yours. If you don't hand it over, I will have to take it myself. In the process, you will inevitably suffer." White Tiger Sage closed his eyes and did not say a word. Lin Feng shook his head and pointed his finger. White Tiger Sage's mouth opened involuntarily. A mass of starlight flickered in his bloody mouth, as if it led to another world full of stars. Lin Feng put his palms together and activated the yin and yang return to origin divine power, enveloping White Tiger Great Sage. A stream of magic power fell on him, cutting his body and separating him from the Star Ocean portal bit by bit. White Tiger Sage was confined by the Yin and Yang restoration magical realm and could not move. He only had to bear a stream of magic power, but he knew that the next process would be similar to death by dismemberment. The pain was indescribable. Even in death by dismemberment, the number of cuts was fixed. White Tiger Sage was facing a situation where there was no upper limit to the number of cuts. He would not stop until Lin Feng completely separated the Star Ocean portal from him. Lin Feng looked at White Tiger Sage and shrugged his shoulders. He was not interested in interrogating others, nor did he have the time to do so. But since White Tiger Sage did not cooperate with him, this was the only way to separate him from the Star Ocean portal. Of course, there was a simpler way, which was to kill him. Pure-blooded white tigers are rare, so I will spare your life. After a stream of magic power fell, Lin Feng stopped temporarily and said silently, but this method is indeed painful. You are a tough guy, which I admire. If you want a quick death, I can fulfill your wish. It's up to you. After a moment of silence, White Tiger Sage suddenly said, I will give you the Star Ocean portal. So simple. Lin Feng glanced at him, his eyes flashing. Don't tell me you don't have any offspring. White Tiger Sage snorted and did not answer. Lin Feng asked, do you have any elders? White Tiger Sage was still silent. Lin Feng was dumbfounded. Good heavens, the last pure-blooded white tiger. It was impossible for White Tiger Sage to not have had children since he had lived. But the pure-blooded white tiger bloodline had only one son. After having a pure-blooded offspring, the father could only give birth to a new pure-blooded offspring when the offspring died. White Tiger Sage's original offspring had all died due to various reasons. Of course, he could still mate with other demons and continue to give birth to pure-blooded offspring. But he had been in closed-door training to experience the tribulation and did not have time for this. As a result, Golden Cicada came looking for Lin Feng as soon as he came out of closed-door training. It was really bad luck. Generally speaking, the instinct of the demon clan to reproduce was a high priority. After White Tiger Sage came out of closed-door training, he must have taken care of this first, especially since he had only one son. But because of this negligence, he almost fell into eternal damnation. If it were any other time, White Tiger Sage would rather be cut into pieces. Although the Star Ocean portal would still be taken away by Lin Feng, he did not want to give in to Lin Feng. But he had to consider that if he stubbornly resisted to the end, whether he was imprisoned or killed, his pure-blooded white tiger bloodline was likely to become extinct. He was not afraid of death in battle. The more he was afraid of death, the faster and easier it would be for him to die. But after being captured by Lin Feng, White Tiger Sage had to seriously consider the issue of the continuation of his bloodline. He glanced at Lin Feng and said, the Star Ocean portal is completely compatible with my true form. Even if I cooperate with you, it won't be possible to take it out in a short period of time. Lin Feng said calmly, I know that. If you are willing to cooperate, I will not make things difficult for you. But you must know that you have helped Golden Cicada to make things difficult for me. You may be spared from death, but you will not be spared from punishment. Handing over the Star Ocean portal does not mean that you can just leave. White Tiger Sage was silent. He knew that whether he cooperated or not, the Star Ocean portal would eventually fall into Lin Feng's hands. He could not use it to exchange for his life. After a moment of silence, White Tiger Sage said in a low voice, I need to reproduce. Lin Feng said, you solved the problem of your spouse by yourself. I can allow you to return to the vast land of Heaven Wasteland, but you'd better not have any other ideas. White Tiger Great Sage heaved a long sigh. Even if he had a descendant, he would most likely be under the control of the celestial sect of the Mysterious Gate, or at least for a period of time. But that was all for later. Before that, he had to cooperate with Lin Feng and hand over the Star Ocean portal. With White Tiger Sage's active cooperation, it was much easier for Lin Feng to collect the Star Ocean portal. But it would still be a long process. Quietly feeling the dense starlight seeping out of the Star Sea portal, Lin Feng thought in his heart, the desolate ancient star sea, one of the 7 seas of Tianyuan, it is indeed quite unique. It's just that out of the 6 portals, right now I can confirm the whereabouts of only 4, where are the other 2? Let's assume that the Yudu race has one. What about the other one? The uniqueness of the Star Ocean portal meant that if the owner of the portal kept a low profile like White Tiger Sage, it would be difficult for anyone to detect it. In the following days, besides collecting the Star Ocean portal from White Tiger Sage, Lin Feng guided his disciples in their cultivation. Time passed quickly. Not long after, Tang Jun and Shalua Wonder Tree also returned from the Immortals' ancient world. The outcome of their trip was not bad.